Grand evening, family. This your girl, Empress Goddess, the Georgia Peach. Coming back at you one last time. Well, I always say one last time, but we already know how that goes, don't we? So, we're going to dive back into a little bit more of this sacred geometry, okay, my loves? All right, let's dive back into some more of this sacred geometry.
Support the 1 point. Welcome. I'm your host, Dr. Robert J. Gilbert. In this episode, we will explore the hidden powers of the most famous forms in sacred geometry, the 5 Platonic solids, which are the forms for the 4 elements of nature and the mysterious 5th element. You'll then learn a little-known Rosicrucian practice, using these powerful forms to expand your consciousness and help you to open up perception of higher worlds. In our previous episodes, we showed the power of the sphere as the perfect sacred geometric container for new life and for all of creation. We saw the sacred geometry transformation of the sphere from a containing form to become a dynamic energy activation form, the torus. The Platonic solids are also derived from the primal sacred geometry form of the sphere, but they have undergone a different transformation than the torus. The divine pact thought form behind the Platonic solids is that they are the only 5 perfect ways to divide.
Thank you for dropping in on me, baby girl.
Each way of dividing it creates a different form, which releases a different power. Every face on a particular solid has the same shape, either a triangle, square, or...
I decided I'd drop a little bit more of this sacred geometry on y'all. You know, I learned right along with you all. It's fascinating, I tell you.
Pentagon. The same number of faces meet at every corner or vertex of the form, and every line on every face is the exact same length. The original forms of the Platonic solids are spherical. Then each face is flattened to make the Platonic solids as they were taught to the Greeks and as they are popularly known today. Our oldest historical artifacts of the Platonic solids are from Scotland, where many ancient stone forms have been found, which are well over 3,500 years old. Interestingly, in these oldest artifacts, the Platonic solids always appear in their primordial spherical form. The familiar flattened faces that we know today were popularized by the Greek school of Pythagoras, with information likely gathered from ancient Egypt and Babylonia. We know from the writings of Plato that the Greeks knew that the Platonic solids were connected to the hidden energy grids of the Earth. In our first episode, we showed the net of the Earth grids, the energy patterns of the Earth based on the Platonic solids. Each of the 5 ways of dividing the sphere creates a form connected to one of the 4 elements of nature: earth, water, air, and fire. The 5th form is connected to the mystery of the 5th element, which the Greeks called the ether. This is the dynamic
I ain't gonna hold
energy
all
of
night, but I
life
just wanted you to get a
itself.
little gist of it.
The tetrahedron is the form behind the power of fire. It has 4...
When he said something about that 5th element, made me think about the movie, The 5th Element. I told you, every movie, every TV show that you have ever watched have symbolisms and hidden messages in them. Everything.
Faces. The octahedron is the form behind the power of air. It has 8 triangular faces. The cube is the form behind the power of earth. It has 6 square faces. The icosahedron is the form behind the power of water. It has 20 triangular faces. The 5th and final form, the form kept hidden in the writings of Plato and the Pythagorean school in Greece, because of its tremendous potential power, is the fifth element, the ether, the dynamic life force itself, which is the source of the four earthly elements. This is the Dodecahedron, with 12 pentagonal faces. Each of these platonic solids is a deep world within itself, full of embedded knowledge and power. Each one is a packed thought form from the mind of God. The best known of these forms, the cube of Earth with 6 square faces, we will explore in greater detail in a future episode, where we will see that it is the form for creating the physical plane itself. The cube is a sealed chamber, an alchemical retort we are placed in as young spiritual beings in order to go through deep spiritual transformation processes during our earthly life. Let's dive deeper now into the mysteries of the other 4 platonic solids. The first and simplest of the platonic solids is the Tetrahedron of Fire, with 4 triangular faces. The tetrahedron is the minimal, most fundamental 3-dimensional form which can be created with straight lines. One of the key thought forms from the mind of God behind the tetrahedron is that it holds the pattern of the original one point of the divine unity, which is being solidly supported by the 3 points of a trinity for manifestation purposes. In the Christian tradition, this packed thought form of the tetrahedron is the principle of the divine unity, the true Godhead, resting on the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. In the structure of the human energy field, this trinity of support becomes the human divine spirit being supported by 3 anchor points for the human soul, also known in the Western esoteric tradition as the astral body. In an upcoming episode, we will explore these 3 anchor points of the soul, and we'll see how they support the spirit in the human body, just as the 3 points of the triangle at the base of the tetrahedron support the 1 point directly above the triangle. As the fundamental 3-dimensional form, the tetrahedron holds the principle of fire, which is classically always connected to spirit. The tetrahedron creates fundamental stability and a strong structure for physical manifestation, just as the spirit is the foundation behind the crystallization of physical matter. Buckminster Fuller demonstrated that the triangle and the tetrahedron are the most important structural support forms which exist, applying it to his creation of geodesic domes. If you make all of the platonic solids with flexible corners, they all collapse except for the tetrahedron, which even with flexible rubber corners still stands erect and strong. The tetrahedron has to be completely turned inside out in order for any corner to buckle inwards, giving it more resilience than any other platonic solid form. When the tetrahedron is combined with the form for air, the octahedron, together they create tremendously strong trusses to support physical weight and withstand high-pressure loads. Bucky Fuller called this the tet-octa truss. Hidden inside of the structural strength of the tetrahedron is another key packed thought form in the mind of God, which is to stabilize the center, with the center being the gateway to the divine plane. Again, it was Buckminster Fuller who publicized that the tetrahedron was the minimal form to anchor and hold fixed a point in the center of a structure. To explain what this means, if you put a small ball on the end of a string and have just 1 point of restraint, which is where you would hold the string, then the ball can move in any direction. If you add a second point of restraint, the ball can still move along a full 360 degrees along a 2-dimensional plane. If you add a third point of restraint, then the ball can only move back and forth on a 1-dimensional line. When you add the 4th point of restraint, which means the 4 points of the tetrahedron, each corner point holding a line connected to the central ball or center point, then the sphere is anchored and immobilized in the center of the tetrahedron. And so the principle of stabilizing the divine center is another hidden divine thought form within the tetrahedron. Buckminster Fuller also taught that the most fundamental physical entity, the photon of light, is itself a tetrahedron. When light creates the world, it is the tetrahedron creating the world. The next Platonic solid is the Octahedron of Air, with 8 triangular faces. The octahedron is a form which manifests from the creation of physical space, which is filled with air. It is created by connecting the ends of the 3 axes of the cubical cross, which defines the 3 90-degree angles that create 3-dimensional physical space. When the ends of the 3-dimensional cross are all connected together, this creates the octahedron form.
I just thought about it.
The octahedron can also be seen as essentially 2 pyramids, one pointing upwards and one pointing downwards, connected at their base. This is the true hidden origin of the pyramid, the form used by traditions all over the world as a place of spiritual initiation. The pyramid is in reality an octahedron cut in half. Just as the octahedron is based on the cubical cross, which is the thought form in the mind of God which creates the 3 dimensions of physical space, so the octahedron itself is the basis for the form for human soul travel, which has been popularized in modern times as the Merkaba, or star tetrahedron, and which technically is known as the Stilated Octahedron. Stellation is the technical term for turning a flat-sided form into a star form. The octahedron is stellated, or turned into a star form, by lifting up the center point of each face, and then connecting that raised center point to the 3 corners of that triangular face of the octahedron. This can also be seen from another perspective, that this stellation essentially adds onto every one of the 8 faces of the octahedron the form for air, a tetrahedron, the form for fire. Amazingly, this also then converts the entire octahedron into a form looking like 2 interpenetrating tetrahedra. Fire, with the octahedron form for air, which fuels fire, hidden inside. This stellated octahedron, better known to the public today as a star tetrahedron, is a form which is part of the subtle body system of the human being, related to higher initiation and soul travel. We will explore the star form and the hidden secrets of the Merkaba vehicle of soul travel in detail in a later episode of this series. The octahedron holds many secrets for how spirit creates the physical world.
Oh, yeah.
For example, a sacred geometry secret of the Tibetan tradition was only made public recently in the book titled Sacred Dimensions of Time and Space by Tarthang Tolku, published in 1997. In this book, a Tibetan master describes how time has a structure with past, present, and future, creating the 3 points of a triangle. These triangles are connected in a linear flow of what we conceive of as time. These triangles emerge from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions as octahedral diamonds, which are the units of the flow of time itself. The next Platonic solid form is the Icosahedron of water, with 20 triangular faces. Just as the octahedron is created on a framework of the 3 axes of physical space, so the icosahedron is created using a different framework on top of the same 3 90-degree axes that create physical space.
I forgot I had
Instead
this,
of using simple one-dimensional lines that
week.
create the octahedron, the icosahedron is manifested from 3 golden mean rectangles, which are each 2-dimensional. The golden mean, also known as the thigh ratio, is a major sacred geometry pattern intimately linked to life energy, which we will explore in a later episode of this series. The icosahedron is the Platonic solid related to water, which is the element that is understood today as the basic prerequisite for life as we know it. Simple biological life which live in liquid, such as protozoa in the ocean, often take on a pure icosahedral form. One of the simplest and smallest biological life forms are viruses.
Damn.
It is
I
perhaps
get
no
together in a minute,
surprise
y'all.
then that the platonic solid form for water, the Icosahedron, has been found in modern scientific research to be the actual form of many viruses. This is the case, for example, with herpes virus, adenovirus, and many others. The final and ultimate platonic solid is the Dodecahedron with 12 pentagonal faces. This is the form that is in resonance with the ether.
Give me a second.
The ancient Greek concept of the ether has always been understood as the dynamic life force.
You eat it.
Which
I'm trying to get it where y'all can see the
space
picture.
and
I
is
forgot I had with
connected
him brought
to the
this
heavens surrounding the earth.
this thing to hold it for the
This
phone
concept
holder.
was virtually
I forgot when the
universal
target and got this the other
among
last
all
week,
classical traditions,
week before last,
with
and
a
I'm
variety
straining
of
my
names
arm for
given to
nothing.
the
I just
ether in
thought about
different
it.
cultures. For example, it is called prana
Yeah.
in India. It was the basis for the Ka energy body in ancient Egypt. And in China, it was referred to as the universal.
Can you hear it good?
Although the existence of the ether is denied by modern Western materialistic science, it has in reality was referred to as the universal chi field. Although the existence of the ether is denied by modern Western materialistic science, it has in reality simply been brought in through the back door and given a different name to fit modern materialism.
Okay.
For example,
that's
now
good.
being
Can you see the picture good?
As the quantum vacuum field or the quantum energy field. In February 2003, NASA released their
look,
new
I'm working myself for nothing. I
cosmic
forgot I had those.
radiation
They go to
data
show you, I be going and
from the
buying shit and be
Wilkinson
forgetting what I be
Microwave
doing and got.
Anisotropy Probe, or the WMAP, which reveals the actual physical structures of space. Then in October 2003, a group of cosmologists with mathematician Jeffrey Weeks analyzed this data to create a new sacred geometry knowledge of ancient spiritual traditions. The dodecahedron is deeply connected to the number 5. It is the only platonic solid with 5-sided pentagonal faces. As we will see in a later episode, 5-sided geometries like the pentagram are directly connected to etheric life force, the human etheric body, and the phi ratio. The dodecahedron can perfectly hold inside of it 5 cubes, so that one of the 12 lines on each cube creates one line connecting 2 non-adjacent points on each face of the dodecahedron. When all 5 cubes are in place, they create a pentagram, a 5-pointed star, on every face of the dodecahedron. The pentagram is a pure phi ratio form, with golden mean proportioning throughout the pentagram. The human etheric life body is itself a pentagram, connecting the heart to the 5 extremities, the head, 2 hands, and 2 feet. The dodecahedron occurs naturally in chemical structures and features prominently in many modern scientific theories on the atomic structure behind all matter. Now, interestingly, the noble gas xenon's structure, as found in chemistry textbooks, is based on a dodecahedra around a cube. Xenon is in reality an extremely psychotropic gas used for inducing spiritual experiences in clinics in the Czech Republic. Now we see that this power may be linked to its geometric form, the cube of the materialized physical world being surrounded by the dodecahedron, the opening to the etheric life force, the gateway point.
It ain't
And the
gonna
face
work. I
shape
tried
of
it.
its dual form is the surrounding boundary. So just as air and earth are two complementary opposite polarities, so the octahedron of the air
I
and the
seen a
cube of
different
the
one I
earth
had
are
seen. I might go
platonic
get.
duals. There are 6 square
I ain't
faces
had
on
a
the
problem
cube,
with it when I put it
in the
on my
center of
windshield.
which perfectly fit the 6 corners or vertices of the octahedron. There are 8 triangular faces on the octahedron, in the center of which fit the 8 vertices of the cube.
Okay.
The physical element essential for life is water. Water is the basis of living beings animated by the ether. For the ether to operate in a living body, water must be present. And so we find that the icosahedron of water and the dodecahedron of the etheric life force are platonic duals, complementary matched polarities. There are 20 triangular faces on the icosahedron, in the center of which the 20 vertices of the dodecahedron fit, and 12 pentagonal faces on the dodecahedron, in the center of which the 12 vertices of the icosahedron fit. This, of course, leaves one platonic solid left over, the Tetrahedron of Fire. The tetrahedron is paired with itself. It is self-dual. The tetrahedron has 4 faces, in which fit the 4 corners of an inverted tetrahedron. This platonic dual, with its upright and inverted pair of nested tetrahedra, is connected to movements of energy upwards and downwards, based on the direction the point of each tetrahedra is oriented. This is connected to the form of the human Merkaba soul vehicle, as the star tetrahedron, which we mentioned earlier, and which we will explore in a later episode. These platonic solid forms, and their duals, can be applied to the human energy field for powerful energetic and spiritual purposes. Returning now to our discussion of the dodecahedron. In addition to the dodecahedron being paired with the icosahedron as its platonic dual, there is also a very deep esoteric tradition regarding the double dodecahedra. In other words, 2 dodecahedrons connected face to face. In the work of the great European Rosicrucian teacher Rudolf Steiner, the double dodecahedra was used as the foundation stone for creating a new Temple of the Grail, which was the building known today as the First Goetheanum, which was built in Dornach, Switzerland during World War I. Tragically, this amazing Rosicrucian Temple of the Grail was destroyed, burned to the ground by a Nazi saboteur shortly after it was completed. A copper double dodecahedron was placed in the earth as the foundation stone for this new Temple of the Grail. It represented the union of the macrocosm of the spiritual world, which was the larger dodecahedron, with the microcosm of our physical world, the smaller dodecahedron. The double dodecahedra was echoed in the construction of the building by the twin domes over the temple. An important aspect of the dodecahedron is that this form was obscured or kept hidden in some ancient traditions, including the ancient Greek tradition. As the form related to the dynamic life force itself, which stands above all the other platonic solids, all the other elements of nature, there was the concern that the misuse of this form could lead to unleashing catastrophic forces of destruction. This concern proved to be prophetic. During my time as a nuclear biological chemical warfare defense instructor for the U.S. Marine Corps, I discovered declassified photos from the Manhattan Project related to one of the first forms of the atomic bomb. During the creation of the atomic bomb in the Manhattan Project of World War II, it was discovered that to create the critical mass leading to the explosion of the bomb called Fat Man, a plutonium implosion device, the bomb required being shaped as a dodecahedron, so that when the outer spherical shell of the bomb was removed, there were inside 12 pentagonal sections, which acted as lenses to make the atomic explosion possible. The dodecahedron was the form of the atomic bomb. With the atomic explosion, the ancient warning of the destructive power if the dodecahedron of the etheric life force were ever to be misused, was shown to be true and prophetic. Nuclear weapons literally disintegrate matter out of physical existence entirely. One of the major scientists in the Manhattan Project, Robert Oppenheimer, famously said a quote from the Hindu holy text, the Bhagavad Gita, when he saw the destructive power of the atomic blast. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." One of the scientists in the Manhattan Project, Professor Robert Moon from the University of Chicago, later published his insights into how the entire periodic table of elements, which is the identification of literally every element which creates physical matter, is in fact based on the Platonic solids. The Robert Moon model of the periodic table suggests that the atomic number for each element, in other words, the number of protons, is linked to a hidden geometry. Each proton is positioned exactly at a vertex, in other words, one of the corners, of multiple Platonic solids nested inside one another. In the Robert Moon model, element number 8 on the periodic table, oxygen, is created from each of its 8 protons being at one of the 8 corners of the cube. Just as the ancients said that the cube is the form for creating the earth element, so element number 8, oxygen, which makes the cube, comprises 62.55% of all the atoms in the Earth's crust. Adding in the 6 vertices to create the octahedron brings us up to element number 14, which is silicon, which makes up the next largest number of atoms in the Earth's crust, 21.22%. So the combined cube and octahedron, which materialize oxygen and silicon on the periodic table, then together make up 84% of the Earth's crust. Adding in the icosahedron's 12 vertices brings us up to element 26, iron. Then adding in the dodecahedron's 20 vertices brings us up to element number 46, palladium. Now note that the tetrahedron is not part of the nested forms in the Moon model of the periodic table. It was described by Professor Moon as being used for positions of the neutrons. Also remember what we said before, that the tetrahedron is the only one of the Platonic solids which does not have a different Platonic solid as a dual. It is self-dual. Robert Moon then realized that creating a second set of these nested Platonic solids creates 2 full dodecahedra with internal Platonic solids. These 2 dodecahedra connect on a pentagonal face at element number 86, the radioactive gas radon. From a spiritual perspective of the Platonic solids, this double dodecahedra can be seen as the first dodecahedron being the etheric life force of the heavens, the first 46 lighter elements on the periodic table, joined with the etheric life force of the earth, the final 46 denser elements, which creates the total number of naturally occurring elements on Earth, 92. We discussed earlier the Rosicrucian understanding from before the time of the Manhattan Project and the Robert Moon elements model of the double dodecahedron as the union of heaven and earth, the macrocosm and the microcosm. As there are 92 naturally occurring elements on the periodic table to create elements beyond radon, more corners on the twin dodecahedra must become available for protons to manifest there. In the Robert Moon model, this happens through the face connection between the dodecahedra, breaking apart like a hinge to make more proton nesting sites available for later elements. To create element number 91, protactinium, the line of connection must break to then have only one point of connection. This means to create the final naturally occurring element on the periodic table, radioactive uranium, the 2 dodecahedra must break apart completely. From a spiritual perspective of the dodecahedron as the form of the ether, the vital life force, this breaking apart the connection between the life force of the earth and the life force of the heavens leads to the destruction we see with nuclear weapons. From an engineering perspective, breaking apart the connection between the two nuclear proton dodecahedra creates instability. This results in element number 92, uranium, releasing toxic radiation and makes possible the fission of uranium. Fission was a critical breakthrough in which Robert Moon himself participated during the Manhattan Project at the University of Chicago, leading to the use of uranium and later man-made elements like plutonium to create devastating nuclear weapons, which literally vaporize physical matter out of existence in the blink of an eye. The use of the dodecahedron for the first nuclear weapon and the deeper geometric structures behind that, explained in Professor Robert Moon's model, show the true power and the fundamental nature of the platonic solids for the creation of our world. It is also a warning of the destructive power of the misuse of sacred geometry knowledge. However, just as the misuse of the dodecahedron form of the etheric life force gave rise to nuclear weapons annihilating life, so the wise use of this form is fundamentally linked to the giving of life and even transmuting deadly materials into safe forms. We saw that element number 46, palladium, was the form of the first completed dodecahedron in the Robert Moon model of the periodic table of elements. With the dodecahedron being known as the gateway to the ether, the vital life force itself, in ancient teachings, this indicates that palladium, the completed dodecahedron, may have unusual alchemical, energetic, and life-protecting effects. And indeed, this has recently been scientifically proven. Researchers at Pennsylvania State University found that lethal chemicals, such as military-grade nerve agents, could be rendered completely harmless through interaction with, you guessed it, palladium. Palladium causes the toxic chemicals to oxidize, breaking down the lethal nerve agent or other toxic substances to water and carbon dioxide, along with other harmless ions. The palladium converts water and oxygen into hydrogen peroxide, a powerful oxidizing agent. This is an incredible fact that the element palladium indicated in the Robert Moon model as the completed dodecahedron, the etheric life force itself, has now been proven to transform the deadliest chemical substances into basic elements which do not harm living beings. In fact, palladium and its closely related element platinum have been found to have a wide range of unusual, energetic, and detoxifying properties. They are used in catalytic converters to break down the harmful exhaust from cars. Palladium and platinum have been used as the cathode and anode, simply meaning the negative and positive poles, for cold fusion experiments, which created much more energy than put into the system, essentially gating energy to enter in from outside the system. We described in our first episode the net of geometric energy, which stands behind all physical matter, and this net appears to be connected to the excess energy generated in cold fusion experiments. This connection to the net concept is also demonstrated by one of the alternative names for cold fusion, which is lattice-assisted nuclear reactions, with the lattice meaning what we have called the net. The containing of the other platonic solids within the dodecahedron has also been used in a variety of esoteric healing systems. One example is the work of Theo Gimbel of Britain, who used combinations of color and platonic geometry to target and heal different functional systems of the body. In Gimbel's system, the red Tetrahedron of Fire is used to activate the nerve sense system rooted in our head. The yellow Octahedron of Air is used to activate and balance the respiratory system in the throat and upper chest. The blue Icosahedron of Water is used to activate and balance the metabolic system in the abdomen. And the green cube of Earth is used to ground and balance at the base of the abdomen. Note that in Gimbel's system, which was partially based on the Rosicrucian work of Rudolf Steiner. The double dodecahedron is used over the top and bottom halves of the body. Now we have surveyed the platonic solids, the 5 perfect divisions of the sphere. We can now see the larger context of the information presented in our first episode, where we showed how the Earth grid itself is related to these platonic solids, particularly to the platonic duals of the dodecahedron with the icosahedron. We can now experience the power of these forms directly through an extremely important but little known Rosicrucian practice, which uses these forms to activate new circuits in the human mind. In episode 2, we explored how the human mind is a microcosm of the divine mind, which means that we can both access packed thought forms from higher beings and also generate these ourselves. One method which helps to activate this power is visualizing the platonic solids and moving them through specific transformations. Some people say they're unable to visualize. However, unless they were born blind, this is not actually true. Rather, the truth is that they simply have not fully activated that internal energy pathway, which allows them to visualize. That pathway exists, but it's not strong or stable yet. Just as physical muscles atrophy if not used and exercised, so these inner spiritual activation pathways are weak until we flex them regularly through internal exercises. By visualizing these key thought forms in the mind of God within our own mind and exploring their transformations, we can greatly strengthen our own capacity to perceive the sacred geometry thought forms from other beings, and our ability to create packed thought forms ourselves. This opens up higher states of consciousness and more conscious communication with other people. This shift of consciousness can also transform and optimize our spiritual destiny. If you'd like to do the practice now, please see the companion video for this episode. Otherwise, please set an intention to come back and do the practice at a later time. Join us for our next episode, when we will discover the sacred geometric form which holds the secret of balancing and blending powerful opposite energies. This form even holds the key to understanding the different types of non-physical beings that every person will encounter on the path of spiritual development. Welcome. I'm your host, Dr. Robert J. Gilbert. In this episode, we will explore a key sacred geometry pattern, which is essential for recharging energy in the human body. This pattern not only exists throughout the human body, it is also a key energy source from the subatomic all the way up to the galactic level, and even connects to higher dimensions. Spiritually, this is the same pattern which creates the form of the chalice of the Holy Grail. You will learn in this episode 3 essential methods to use the sacred geometry pattern to clear and energize your entire body and energy field.
I'm Robert Grant, and this is the Codex. Last Supper painting by Leonardo da Vinci is one of the most famous pieces of art. It's a fresco located in Milan, Italy, and has been the object of analysis by cryptographers for many, many centuries. As one of the most famous works of art in the world, and because it's attached to a wall, this painting cannot be sold. In fact, it's priceless. This painting seems to house so many encryptions in it that in fact it's become the subject of mainstream media and films for many years. Dan Brown's account in the Da Vinci Code is one example of this. Holy Blood, Holy Grail also points us in a similar direction, hidden encryptions inside the Last Supper painting. The first of these that everyone iconically remembers is that what we all believed was John the Apostle sitting to the right of Jesus was not in fact John the Apostle at all. In his very hermaphroditic sort of garb and look, John is actually the representation, many believe, to be Mary Magdalene. One of the things that we notice is that there is a void space between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Now, Jesus has clearly a symbol of what looks to be an upside down triangle represented as the divine feminine. What I realized is that the inverted triangle of the Last Supper also carries the exact same angular reference of 51.843 degrees. Is this yet again pointing us to the Giza Plateau? What we find here also is other encryptions deeply hidden within this enigmatic painting. Another example that we can see here is that the face of Peter the Apostle, who strangely has his hand down the blouse of Mary Magdalene, and his right hand seems to be holding, in a contorted position, a knife. And who is it that's sitting in between Peter and Mary Magdalene? That's none other than Judas himself. In fact, you can see him holding his 30 pieces of silver in a small bag. Why would it appear as though Peter is seeming to conspire in some way, shape, or form with Mary Magdalene? And why is it that she's leaning in to listen to his whisper? What would they have to whisper about? And the face, there's something with the face of Peter also that seems to be drawing attention. Weren't all the apostles roughly the same age as Jesus? When Jesus was crucified, he was widely known to have been 33 years old. And yet we see the face of Peter as being a man probably in his late 40s or early 50s, having almost all gray, even white hair. But is there something else that we can notice about his face? Well, if we look at a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci from a similar period but later in his life, we'll notice that the face of Leonardo da Vinci himself in his own self-portrait matches the face of Peter, the apostle, who later became the head of the entire church. And is the knife that's being held behind his back a knife held by his hand? Or rather, is he holding the wrist of Mary Magdalene? These questions and more were the subject of our analysis. We also looked at the back wall, noticing that there were many other encryptions that somehow relate to other prominent places in none other than the King's Chamber itself.
Prior to visiting the Great Pyramid of Giza in 2018, Robert Grant intuitively sketched two particular Greek letters in his notebook, as if subconsciously making connections between the King's Chamber and the Last Supper that were yet to be discovered.
When I arrived in Egypt, I looked down while in the King's Chamber. I noticed the presence of what looked to be two letters, the Alpha and the Omega. So an Alpha and Omega on the sarcophagus of the king's chamber? Isn't the pyramid famously devoid of any writing or hieroglyphics? And for thousands of years, hasn't this room been frequented by millions of people potentially? Let's not forget, this is the most studied building on the planet. It was the tallest building in the world for well over 4,000 years. And the King's Chamber is the most prominent of the chambers within the Great Pyramid. How is it even possible that this could not have been seen before? And is there anything that relates to the Last Supper that might point us in the same direction? You'll note that underneath the table, you can see the feet of several of the apostles. Some of them are wearing sandals. And you'll notice as well that if you try to look for the feet of Jesus, you will not be able to see the feet of Jesus because they're obstructed by what looks to be the upper doorway of some sort of portal in and out of the chapel where the Last Supper painting is housed. But what's also interesting about this is that when we notice the location of that portal, and if we believe art historians, they say that later in the 17th century, a doorway was cut into the wall of this very famous painting. Now, this doesn't really seem to hold water for me, because Leonardo da Vinci was famous in his lifetime. In fact, this was a very famous fresco that the King of France himself made particular mention of in historical records. So why would the owners or the people that were taken care of as caretakers of this important place on hallowed ground have cut a doorway obstructing the painting of Leonardo da Vinci, potentially even then known as one of the greatest artists of all time?
If in fact the doorway was not cut into the fresco years later, but had always been there, as Robert Grant suggests, then the question arises, did Leonardo da Vinci integrate this door into his masterpiece? And if so, what is the significance of this possible encryption?
So when I started to notice that the other proportions of the room of the King's Chamber were relative to the Last Supper painting and vice versa, I started to think, are there other encryptions that might be hidden inside the walls of the Last Supper painting that are showing us and pointing us back to the King's Chamber itself?
What Robert Grant realized is that the placement of the Alpha and the Omega on the rim of the sarcophagus within the King's Chamber are proportionate to Jesus, the Alpha, and Mary Magdalene, the Omega, within the Last Supper.
And when we place an overlay, the exact position of the sarcophagus in its original position would occupy exactly the doorway that is obstructing the feet of both Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And we'll also notice that the proportions, when we place precisely the line of the ceiling against the back wall, which would reference what we refer to as the western wall of the Great Pyramid, is precisely pointing to the same proportional dimensions so that the entire table in perspective could be viewed as being part of the Last Supper scene. Is this telling us something more about the windows and portals and tapestries that are located within the Last Supper painting itself? Of course, we also notice that the location in the Last Supper painting of both Jesus and Mary Magdalene also conforms precisely to the golden number and golden cut. 1.618 verses 1. Interesting as well that, again, these proportions are matched in the Alpha Omega that I discovered on the rim of the sarcophagus, which is exactly 5.6 inches wide. The King's Chamber is 31.41596 meters. And the square root of that number, which is pi times 10, turns out to be 5.605 inches. 5.605 squared equals the dimension of the perimeter of the king's chamber room itself. Interestingly as well, the seraph, or the peak of the letter A, is precisely at the 33rd inch of the 89.62 inch long sarcophagus. I and my colleagues note that is exactly 1 over the Euler number.
Euler's number is best known as the base for natural logarithms and is used in everything from explaining exponential growth, radioactive decay, and calculating compound interest.
This is a very important number, as fundamental as transcendental pi. In fact, if we take both of those numbers and we apply them together in the relationship of a tetrahedron nested within a sphere, we find that when we consider that a tetrahedron nested within a sphere would have a displacement of 1/3 of the volume of the sphere inside the tetrahedron, and 2/3 being outside of the tetrahedron nested within that sphere. And we apply those same proportions in a weighted average calculation. What we find is that pi times 2/3 plus Euler number, which is 2.718, times 1/3, added together in a weighted average calculation, gives us integer value 3.000. Both of these numbers seem to be boundary conditions for integer value 3. But why would we have the Euler number pointed to the alpha and omega on the rim of the sarcophagus? Advanced knowledge? Additionally, in the Vitruvian Man, Leonardo da Vinci left an area value of the square that didn't match the area value of the circle, which is pi, with a radius of 1. Instead, he left us an encrypted message for all to see, which is that the area, if we take the time to actually measure it, using the radius value of 1 of the circle, turns out to be precisely the Euler number 200 years prior to this purported discovery of the Euler number and its attributes, arguably the second most important mathematical constant to mathematicians, even of our day today. What was Leonardo trying to tell us? What else can we see inside the Last Supper painting? Let's look a little bit closer at the window behind Jesus. If we look closely at the pediment above Jesus, immediately above him and above the window behind him, we'll notice an eye. Not only is this orientation showing us and pointing to an eye, but we're also seeing that this is an ancient symbol used in Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism as an all-seeing eye. But in Egyptian mythology and history, we know better. This eye is the eye of Ra, god of the sun. So quite fitting, in fact, that it's above, immediately above, the Son of God. But in esotericism, this goes deeper to explain the separation between the conscious mind, which is acting for us like a sun to the outside world, and the subconscious mind is the missing eye. But it's the eye that's always there, but not shown in this outward world. This eye is referred to the eye of Horus. Now, going back into Egyptian mythology and the story of Osiris. Osiris had quite a conflict and battle with Set. And Set was able to defeat Osiris, and in fact, he cut him into 14 parts. And as he cut him into 14 parts, of course, his son, Horus, wanting to avenge the death of his father, Horus took on a battle with Set. And in that battle, Horus lost his left eye. It was plucked out, as the mythology tells us in the Egyptian pantheon. This plucking out of the left eye of Horus could be pointing to something more significant. And in esoteric circles, it actually represents the loss of our intuitive sight. The loss of the feminine, which this eye, which is often referenced as the eye of Thoth, because it was restored eventually by Thoth. Horus had lost his left eye, went to Thoth and asked Thoth to repair it for him. And Thoth used magic to repair the eye. So often, this eye is referred to as the eye of Thoth. The two eyes of Horus, the right eye being the eye of Ra, and the left eye being the eye of Thoth. Represented by the moon, intuition, the feminine, that which might be, in a mathematical sense, irrational, and merging it together with the linear lines of the rational. The conscious mind taking over the personification of our own persona and ego. And the unconscious or subconscious mind being represented by this eye that was missing and plucked out. So where is this eye of Horus? Maybe we need to turn to yet another Da Vinci painting to see where this might connect us back to this eye of Horus. That's the left eye and often referred to as the eye of Thoth.
The clues to locate the eye of Thoth may be found in another Da Vinci masterpiece, possibly inspired by a famous woman of royalty who once lived with Leonardo da Vinci, the controversial wife of King Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn.
Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was known as one of the most enchanting women of the day. From 1516 until 1519, Leonardo da Vinci lived in the same home as Anne Boleyn. What had happened was King Francis of France had conquered Milan and the Sforza family. And when he went to Milan, he immediately asked to go into the chapel, and they did not want it to be destroyed. He wanted to see this very famous fresco by Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was, of course, still alive. In his aging years, he was asked by King Francis to move into his palace to spend the rest of his days helping to design an ambitious new castle. So he recruited him to do so, and Leonardo moved everything in his life at that time out of Vinci to Chateau d'Amboise, which was the seat at the time of the French court. Anne Boleyn happened to eventually enchant King Henry VIII so much that he left his first wife in a period of time that this was expressly forbidden unless granted an annulment from the Pope of Rome himself, which the Pope refused to grant to the King of England, Henry VIII. So Henry VIII was able to finally divorce her by establishing his own new church, the Church of England, which is today the Episcopal Church. Anne Boleyn later became the mother of Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I, who was one of the greatest and longest reigning monarchs of Great Britain since that time, only eclipsed today by Elizabeth II. Anne Boleyn was also famously tried for having had an adulterous affair with another man while she was married to the king. The king used that as the impetus to cut off her head famously. But Anne Boleyn lived in the same house in her late teenage years as Leonardo da Vinci. And today, we believe that there's a painting that represents their meeting. And that painting is referred to today as La Belle Ferronnière, the iron maker's daughter. Now, as we look at this painting, we'll notice some prominent things about it. First of all, it has a very dark background, almost like the night sky. And as we look at it, we'll also notice that her part seems to be very significant. It represents an inverted T or Tau cross, another symbol of Rosicrucian encryption. Additionally, we also notice that she has what looks to be some sort of amber gem right over her forehead, right between her eyes, not far from where we'd expect to see like a bindu in an Indian person who is representing their Ajna chakra, their third eye. We also notice that the light that is caressing the strands of her hair adjacent to her part line actually looks very similar to an iris. Can we also see that the hair and the light bouncing off of the strands of her hair adjacent to her part line are actually forming the lines of the iris of this eye that is surrounding her head in the darkness. Because of the orientation of the eye, we notice that, of course, it is a left eye. And if we place this painting immediately adjacent to the Last Supper scene, is this the missing eye of Horus that we find on this female archetype in Anne Boleyn, a famous character in history who happened to live in the same home as Leonardo da Vinci for 3 years prior to his death? Is Leonardo pointing us yet again to this merger of heart-brain consciousness? We'll also notice on the back wall, there appear to be many hidden encryptions. You can see a lantern, you can also see script writing, and you can also see what looks to be the profile of a lion. On the left side, we'll also notice a letter A prominently above the tapestries that is on the left wall as we look at it. But can we find other things as well that are hidden into this painting that might actually point us, like a map, to other things inside of the King's Chamber itself? Let's first look to see if we can find the Eye of Ra on the back wall of the King's Chamber, behind the sarcophagus on the western wall. In the exact same location, when we mirror match the precise location of the seam between the ceiling and the back wall, crossing over 2 stones, and you can see the line of the entire eye, and also what looks to be almost like a yin-yang iris inside that eye, on the same location of the back wall. The King's Chamber, famously devoid of any markings or writings, now has yielded up to us an Alpha Omega on the rim. We also found a compass not far from the Alpha Omega, pointing out degree references. And now we're seeing that the back wall of the King's Chamber is matching up with what is painted more than 500 years ago into the fresco in Milan by Leonardo himself. What other things can we find in this painting? On the right wall, we can see the faint letters of Alpha A written in a script from the period, Renaissance period script, Alpha Q W. W is a lowercase omega. Alpha Chi Omega. The Last Supper painting, just like the Vitruvian Man painting, houses within it hidden encryptions that Leonardo da Vinci more than 500 years ago left to us to find through time, representing this very ancient symbology of balancing the square and the circle, finding the balance between the masculine and the feminine, and bringing together polarity into unity consciousness, merging the rational mind with the unconscious creativity that is resident within achievement of the heart, brain, mind, and consciousness. Could Leonardo da Vinci be pointing us to a deeper hidden esoteric wisdom teaching? Join us for our next episode, where we're going to go deeper into this great mystery to understand what it means.
Akashic records, can we rewrite them?
When souls are formulated in the beginning of time, they're very large. They might have to split. Everybody makes these soul contracts.
Can you break the contract?
Yes, you can break contracts.
That's probably not a good idea, right? How do we know this is a soulmate?
Oh, that's a question I get a lot. A lot of times I have clients that say, I think I'm being abducted a lot. I'm not sure if I have a contract with gray aliens.
Is there a guiding force that kind of overlooks these agreements? Well, welcome to Beyond Belief. Debbie Solaris with us, an ET contactee and galactic historian. Now, through her connection with the Akashic Records, she receives downloads of galactic history. Debbie, welcome to Beyond Belief.
Thanks, George. Thanks for having me back. And we got to stop meeting like this, though. It's
the best place to meet, though.
I know, it is. Yeah.
And we're still getting a lot of response from your last presentation some time ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is a soul contract? What is that?
A soul contract is an agreement that one soul will have with another soul in order to learn lessons or to go through different experiences together. As souls, we're very expansive. And this is something that I work with a lot through my Akashic Records work that I do.
So give me an example of a soul contract.
For instance, a lot of people know the terminology soulmates. That's an example of a soul contract. A soulmate is usually somebody that we've had past lives with. Usually romantic, not always, but usually we feel this familiarity when we meet a soulmate, even in this lifetime.
Or at least an emotional connection, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, very much so.
So many people, when they break up with a soulmate, think it's the end of the world. It's not, is it?
Not at all. There's unlike twin flames, which we'll also talk about, soulmates, we have many soulmates, so there's an endless amount of soulmates.
So not just one.
No, not at all. No.
That's good. Now,
yeah.
Why is it so important during this time period to have the soul connection?
The reason why soul contracts are very, I think,
Work.
When we understand ourselves at a deeper level, then we know who we are and why we are here. I have clients who go to past lives. If 10 clients have told me what it's like to be an angelic soul and why they're here, there must be some validity because those 10 people don't know each other. It's not a smooth journey, but we need to be here doing what we're doing because we're the ones that are going to change life on Earth.
Well, welcome to Beyond Belief. Dr. Linda Backman back with us, a teacher, a regressionist therapist, and licensed psychologist with more than 40 years of private practice experience. Linda, welcome back.
Thank you, George. It's great to be here.
How have you been?
I've been good, thank you.
How did you get involved in past life regression?
Surprisingly, in my 40s, now it's almost 30 years ago. A very long story made short, I had a colleague die at age 32 from a type of lung cancer. I didn't believe in any of this at that time. I was about 46 years old. And he started talking to me from the other side. He started showing me past lives in my mind's eye, which I thought was extremely weird. And yet I was fascinated. So
Were you convinced it was him?
Yes, I had no doubt. Yeah, it's the feel that I just had no doubt. And so I asked my husband what he thought about what I was experiencing. And my husband said, oh, when I was 10, I remembered my past lives. I said, really? You never told me that before. So that was permission, George, for me to open up doors I never even considered. I thought I was going to be a conventional psychologist the rest of my life.
Are you glad you took this path?
More than glad. It's my life's work. And I believe I was meant to bring this information forward for people to understand.
You're devoted to this too, I can tell.
Yeah, it's my heart along with other people in my life that are my heart. But yes.
What have you learned over the years about what this all is?
Well, I've certainly learned that we are much more than just this life. And, it's hard to make it simple because it isn't simple at all. But
This is Audible.
History of Physics. The story of Newton, Feynman, Schrödinger, Heisenberg, and Einstein. Discover the men who uncovered the secrets of our universe. Written by Jordan Maxwell. Narrated by Daniel L. Fertrell. Introduction. The starts of anything, such as a connected history of this science that currently...
Many numbers can often have multiple meanings, as the end of one thing can mean the beginning of another. Numerology's connection to the zodiac is very interesting and not as obvious as its connection with tarot. While the connection with tarot is right in front of your face on the cards, numerology's connection to astrology lies in the action behind understanding astrology itself. In order to understand or create someone's birth chart, you must consult their birth date and time, all numerical values that have great importance in that person's life. In addition, you must then consult the constellations, which you need to know the different degrees and longitudinal and latitudinal information about in order to understand fully. At the base of all of this information is numbers that play a huge part in understanding the personality and inner self of a person. Astrology, while appearing at first glance to be mental and not based in the physical realm, is in fact based very strongly in mathematics and science. Within numerology itself, each number from 0 to 9 is ruled by a planet, much like the zodiac in astrology. It is often when doing a reading of a person that the individual will take both their zodiac and numerological value into play, as each depends and informs one another about the person. In the next chapter, you will learn how to calculate your numerical values and what each of them means for you, as well as some real-life examples of how your numerology can affect you with certain situations and times. Chapter 9. Your Numerology. How to calculate it and what it means. Pythagorean theory of numerology. It is believed that every individual has 5 core numbers that make up who they are and how they experience the world. These 5 numbers are known as the personality number, life path number, expression number, heart's desire number, and birthday number. All of these numbers are crucial to understanding your numerology and will organize how you learn about numerology within this chapter. We will begin with your personality number. Personality number. In Pythagorean numerology, every letter in the alphabet is given a corresponding number from 1 to 9, beginning with the letter A, which equals 1, and going through the letter J, where it starts over at 1 and repeats through the rest of the alphabet. The personality number, in particular, is calculated by looking at every consonant within someone's full name and giving them their corresponding number. Below is an example name: Anna Katharina Brandon. 5522895295444. Now you will take the numbers from the first name and add them together. Anna, 55. Katharina, 22895. Brandon, 29544. Now you will take the numbers from the first name and add them together. 5 plus 5 equals 10. You will do this separately with the middle name. 2 plus 2 plus 8 plus 9 plus 5 equals 26. Finally, You will do this also with the last name. 2 plus 9 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5 equals 25. Now you have your 3 separate numbers from the first, middle, and last name. Now you will take these numbers that are most likely double digits and will add together the individual numbers in those double-digit numbers until you get a number between 1 and 9. 1 plus 0 equals 1. 2 plus 6 equals 28. 2 plus 5 equals 7. Note, it is important to remember that when you come across a number such as 11 or 22, you have found what is called a master number and do not need to reduce those any further. This also applies to the number 12. They have their own significance and stand on their own as defining numbers. Now, you will add those 3 separate numbers together. 1 plus 8 plus 7 equals 16. And once again reduce it. 1 plus 6 equals 7. 7. You now have a complete personality number. This person has the personality number 7, which you can learn more about later in this chapter. Below, we have included some more calculations for common names. Emily Elizabeth Smith. Emily, 4 and 3. Elizabeth, 3, 8, 2, 2, 8. Smith, 1, 4, 2, 8. 4 plus 3 equals 7. 3 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 plus 8 equals 23. And 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 8 equals 15. 7 equals 7. 2 plus 3 equals 5. And 1 plus 5 equals 6. 7 plus 5 plus 6 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. 9. Now that you know how to calculate your personality number, you've learned 1 out of 5 of what you need to know for your personal numerology reading. Next, you will learn how to calculate your heart's desire number and what this number affects. Same as with the personality number, we are going to start with a connection between our name and the corresponding numbers according to Pythagorean numerology. The difference is whereas before you took the number value of the consonants, now you are going to take the number value of the vowels within your name. I is a vowel in a word in that it makes sense to replace it with the letter I. For example, with names such as Karen or Brian, the Y is a vowel. But if the Y is accompanied by a vowel already, then it is a consonant. For instance, in words such as year, yes, or yank, in which a vowel is present right next to the Y, and said Y can't really be replaced with anything, the Y is a consonant. Example is given below. Anna, Katharina, Brandon. Anna, 1 and 1. Katharina, 1, 5, 9, and 1. Brandon, 1 and 5. Once again, we will add these together within the different names. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus 1 equals 16. 1 plus 5 equals 6. Now we need to reduce the double-digit numbers. 1 plus 6 equals 7. Now we need to add together the 3 numbers we are left with. 2 plus 6 plus 7 equals 15.
Now, if anybody who's ever seen the Da Vinci Code, the book they were just talking about when I was watching Beyond Belief, Sacred Geometry, they was talking about these same numbers in the Da Vinci Code, but they called it the Fibonacci sequence, when they had to break down those numbers and break down the code and everything. I tell you, those movies hold significance.
Reduce that number. 5 plus 1 equals 6. 6. Now we have reached the heart's desire number, which for this individual is 6. The heart's desire number is meant to represent what the individual in question desires or values the most in their life. This can be dreams or ideals for the future. It can also be an indicator of what sort of things motivate them as a person. This number can show what sorts of styles they may have or what they prefer to keep in their surrounding environment. Now you know 2 out of 5 of what you need to understand your personal numerology. Hold on to these numbers, as we will give explanations of their meaning later in this chapter. But for now, get ready to learn the 3rd type of important number, the expression number. The expression number. The expression number in a person dictates what an individual's talents may be. It also can reveal their weaknesses. More specifically, this number is a reflection of the skills and abilities they had when their soul entered their body, the day they were born. The numbers that we found previously show how those skills and abilities develop over time, and how one learns to cope in this world with what they were given at birth. To find an expression number, you are going to use the same numbering system as before, but this time you are going to give a number to every letter within the name, not just the vowels or consonants. An example is given below. Anna, Katharina, Brandon. Anna, 1551. Katharina, 2128599951. Brandon, 2915455. Now we will add these numbers as we have done previously. 1 plus 5 plus 5 plus 1 equals 12. 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 8 plus 5 plus 9 plus 9 plus 5 plus 1 equals 42. 2 plus 9 plus 1 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 equals 31. Once again, we will add together any double numbers. 4 plus 2 equals 6. 3 plus 1 equals 4. 2 plus 1 equals 3. Now we will add together the three numbers we are left with. 6 plus 4 plus 3 equals 13. Reduce again. 3 plus 1 equals 4. 4. Hence, for this individual, we have found that 4 is their expression number. So the traits and skills associated with the number 4 are what this individual was born with. And their skills are changed and developed differently throughout their life based on their heart's desire number and the personality number we figured out before. Now you know 3 out of 5 of what you need to understand your personal numerology. Now we will move on to the second to the last number that is necessary for good numerological reading. Keep the previous numbers you have found for the end of this chapter, as we will give insight on each of the numbers for each section, and you will be able to understand your numerology reading. Life path number. The date of your birth has, as we have seen, astronomical implications. Nearly every astrology subsection has some sort of connection to the date of birth as a predictor of the individual. Numerology is no different, as we have now reached what is often considered the most important number included in numerology, and is based on your birth date, the life path number. The life path number represents many very important aspects of your life. It represents all of the possibilities and options and challenges you will most likely face in your lifetime. This number is an indicator of the beginning of something magnificent, you, and as such, is often treated as the beginning of a road forked in a million directions. As is insinuated in the name of the number, this number is an indicator of what path you may take in your life, and how it will branch off into more and more paths. To calculate a life path number, you are going to start with the month of a birth date. Every month is assigned a number, and you will use this number. If the month is November, you will use 1. If the month is December, you will reduce 12 to 3. An example is given below. March 20th, 1999. March equals 3. Now we add together the digits in the day. 2 plus 0 equals 2. Now finally, we add together the individual digits of the year. 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 equals 28. We will reduce any double-digit numbers. 2 plus 8 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. 1. Now we are left with the 3 one-digit numbers, 3, 2, and 1. You will now add these numbers together and reduce again if necessary. 3 plus 2 plus 1 equals 6. This individual's life path number is 6. Now you know 4 out of 5 of what you need to understand your personal numerology. Now that we understand how to calculate the life path number, we have almost reached the end of the calculations. Woo! Math is certainly not the most fun part of astrology, but don't worry. We only have one more number to calculate before we can put together all of our numbers to help understand ourselves as individuals. Birthday number. Your birthday has a very strong value in the world of numerology. This number requires the least amount of math to understand compared to the other significant numbers. This number only requires the day that you were born. So if you were born on days 1 to 9, you're done. For every other number, you simply have to add together the two numbers in the date. Examples are given below. March 20th, 1999, 2 plus 0 equals 2. July 16th, 1888, 1 plus 6 equals 7. This number is a little bit different from the other numbers, as the numbers that go into creating the final number are also considered to be quite important. They often complement or coincide with the final number's meaning. Now you know all 5 of your core number values. Keep them in mind, because for the next section of this chapter, we will be explaining the common traits or meanings behind these numbers. Your personality number, 1 to 12. 1. The fact that this number is the first in the series of personality numbers is fitting. This number is often associated with traits that are meant for those who are the firsts. That is, this number is associated with individuals who want to be the first to do anything. They want to be the first female president, the first to design a flying plane, etc. These individuals are trailblazers and like to control their outcomes. They like to be their own advisors and walk their own path in life. 2. This number is often associated with traits connected with kindness and softness of the soul. These individuals may come across as warm and inviting to others around them. These people tend to be well-groomed and look nice, but also comfortable in their clothes. These individuals are often very passionate and tend to put all they can into their own well-being and health, as well as their daily work. 3. Having this number makes someone more likely to be extremely active. This number is often associated closely with beauty and grace. People often find the person to be charming and energetic. They exude a sort of magnetism that people cannot deny when they are around them. These individuals can also tend to be extremely romantic, almost to a fault. They fall into passionate, romantic love, but then may fall out of that love just as quickly. Good luck and opportunity seem to follow individuals of this number, and as a result, they should be inclined to put themselves out there and not be afraid to try new things. 4. 4 is often associated with traits such as dependability, trust, and stability. People often go to these individuals for their personal judgment on sensitive matters. These individuals can be very helpful in sorting through difficult decisions. People often have an inclination to respect them. They may put off an air of significance, of someone who is meant to be in charge, whether they are or not. These individuals are people who appreciate quality over quantity, but can balance the nice things for a good bargain. 5. Individuals with this number are often very energetic and noticeable in a party. People often appreciate this person's sense of humor and love being around them. Their demeanor often makes those around them feel comfortable and relax. Their optimism spreads to those around them. Unfortunately, they tend to be self-indulgent, mostly within the physical realm. They may have an urge to want to try everything, from food to drugs and sex. Individuals with this number tend to be very charming. 6. Individuals with this number are extremely empathetic and feel very strong compassion for those around them. As a result, these individuals tend to attract those most in need of a shoulder to cry on. Because of this, it is imperative for these individuals to guard their own emotions very closely, as they could begin to confuse another's emotions for their own. Individuals such as these can be very easy to manipulate, especially in the monetary realm, as they are subject to others' pain. As a result, it is extremely important that individuals with this number stay on guard when someone is telling them their financial problems. These individuals are extremely loyal, and as a result, often end up marrying young and being brilliant parents. 7. Individuals with this number are often labeled mysterious. This is mostly due to their level of independence and self-sufficiency that sets them apart from other numbers. These individuals also tend to be very spiritually inclined. They may have some very strong religious or spiritual beliefs that they care deeply about. They often have very unique insights on life and theology. Because of the mysterious nature of this number, people may have a hard time approaching these individuals, as they may come across as intimidating. 8. Individuals with this number have a very strong sense of inner strength. This inner strength will be their greatest strength, as well as their greatest weakness. Their fortitude can help them in business transactions, as well as in navigating difficult situations in their life. Unfortunately, this also means that their words have extreme power. They may not realize it, but their words carry enough weight to ruin relationships around them. Individuals with this number would also benefit from knowing that they need to be more mindful of their appearance. They often don't realize that the role their wardrobe can play in controlling the room around them is huge, and to dress to impress is very important. 9. This number is most commonly associated with artists, as well as musicians and other creative geniuses. This is because those with this number are known for being very confident in their abilities and themselves. These individuals very easily win over the admiration of those around them for the practice they put into their skills and work. The downside to this, of course, is that their talent can spur jealousy in those around them. People may accuse them of being arrogant, and they'd be right unless they can focus their power on maintaining a grounded stance in life. 11. Individuals under this number are known for being shy, quiet creatures that have many small nervous tics. Nail biting is usually cited as one of the most common. These people are typically extremely intuitive and tend to be very vulnerable in most relationships. These individuals often approach life with good intentions, but may attract more demanding and predatory personalities. People tend to try and get something out of them because they know that they are more sensitive than others. Because of their gentle and caring nature, people around them may tend to unload their problems onto them. To avoid this, it would be in their best interest to non-verbally convey some level of confidence, either through their clothes, hair, or even just the way they walk. They tend to greatly dislike conflict and often find themselves being named the peacekeeper due to their swift compromising tendencies. Being caught in a dispute or argument can often drain them of energy and can be difficult for them to bounce back from. 1222. The 12th number of personality numbers is not, in fact, 12, but 22. This number has very similar, but much more extreme traits to number 11. Similarly to the number 11, these individuals tend to allow themselves to be too vulnerable and may be in danger of being taken advantage of because of it. But because of the power of this number, these individuals are not only in danger of having their material possessions taken advantage of, but their emotions as well. These individuals may attract people who thrive off of other people's pain and misery, or more realistically, those that feel better when other people feel worse. An example of this would be a child that is very sad in their heart, picking on another child to make them feel sad as well. The child believes that through hurting the other child, it will make them feel better, when it doesn't in reality.
Projection.
People will often refer to these individuals for their good judgment in difficult situations. These individuals are very responsible with their money and time. They understand the value of a dollar and try to finish work ahead of time as well as do a good job. These individuals' greatest dreams in life often involve wanting to leave their personal mark on the world. They would like to be remembered in some way, to have a lasting impression that signifies them. Thankfully, the number 22 in their chart makes the likelihood of this happening much greater. Most importantly, those with this number should always strive for modesty and humility, as they may tend to get too wrapped up in what they are good at, and don't always stop to think that there may be someone better. Expression, numbers 1 to 12. 1. An individual with the number 1 is often very skilled in the world of business. They have a natural tact for entrepreneurship and often have grand ideas for new businesses they want to start. This individual will probably have many successful and a few failed businesses in their lifetime. They greatly enjoy being their own boss, and many are known to find ways to live from home. Individuals with this number can also be very hypercritical of themselves or others. This can help create a quality business or organization, but if the individual does not keep this trait in check, they can push away those around them. Many people may find them overly judgmental or too harsh of a critic. Paying attention to this trait and learning to rein in their opinion will help maintain good, comfortable relationships with coworkers. 2. Individuals with this number put a lot of weight on social prowess. They tend to be very skilled in the world of manners and elegance. These individuals usually have very high social skills and are
Oh, you
very
still
talented at
hanging?
marketing
That true?
themselves and others. These people usually make brilliant marketing professionals and excel in the world of advertising. The hardest pill for this person to swallow is the fact that not everyone is going to like or get along with them. These individuals want to be friends with everyone and often cannot handle it when someone either clearly or secretly dislikes them. It would be beneficial for this person to remember that sometimes there is nothing you can do to make someone like you. These individuals may need to try and let it go if someone simply isn't getting along with them. 3. Individuals with this number usually have increased skill in communication with others. Because of this, they tend to make brilliant writers, actors, and artists. They can often communicate feelings and emotions in a beautiful and elegant way that can be understood across a wide array of platforms and media. These individuals are often found in careers that involve some sort of self-expression because that is what they love to do. The flaw often found in these individuals is that they may have difficulty concentrating their thoughts into clear and concise information. They tend to go off on tangents and ramble for long periods. An individual with this number usually has to do a lot of editing to their writing and can often end up with mass amounts of cut material that has almost nothing to do with the end product. These individuals would benefit from thinking more clearly about what they are going to include in their projects and taking a moment to consider more deeply if it connects properly to what they are trying to convey. 4. Individuals with this number often have skills in management and organization. They are often fair and impartial leaders who thrive in structure. These individuals are known for being reliable and consistent in their lives. These individuals tend to reject the unconventional and like to live in stable, structured environments. These people tend to find themselves in 9-to-5 jobs where they have some sort of managerial status. Risk takers, these individuals are not. They are not likely to take jobs for companies that are up and coming or that appear to be rapidly growing or shrinking. They prefer to find employment within a well-established company. These individuals are faithful and loyal to those close to them. The biggest negative to this person is their tendency to focus too hard on the things that are outside their grasp. They tend to get caught up on the barriers that block them from things that they want and would benefit from, focusing more on things that are within their capabilities. 5. These individuals are quite the separation from their neighbor, number 4. These people live for adventure and love excitement. They practically ooze curiosity and are known to throw themselves into every new mini-obsession they develop. They despise structured and organized careers and would rip their hair out in a typical 9-to-5 job. These individuals crave freedom and constant stimulation. These individuals' greatest talents are their ability to pick up random, unusual skills seemingly out of the blue. By working hard, these individuals can learn how to do anything from fixing a car to juggling. Because of their charismatic and energetic demeanor and their love of travel, these individuals often have a large group of friends from very different cultural and geographic backgrounds. 5s, unfortunately, tend to have a higher chance of becoming addicted to things like alcohol, drugs, and even sex. Their need to experience new and interesting things can often have consequences that they either don't notice or outright ignore at that moment. 6. Individuals with this number are often very committed to speaking up for the underdog. They usually are the pushers of political movements and have a talent of getting others to agree with them purely through their conviction. These individuals are often known to be extremely passionate about the things that they are involved in. They are usually representatives or heads of nonprofits. From time to time, these individuals tend to put others before themselves too much. That is to say, they tend to push their needs and skills to the side to accommodate those which they believe to need help more. It would be beneficial to these individuals to remember that they are important as well and should focus more time and energy towards themselves. 7. These individuals are often very analytical and usually quite skilled at finding answers to complex questions. They usually make brilliant scientists or engineers. These people are usually very skilled at mathematics and science because they have a rare ability to see every detail and remember every last part of a process. These individuals are known for having a strong urge to seek the truth in everyday life. They are constantly asking questions about why things happen, and are usually inclined to answer the question no matter what. These individuals are very determined to understand the world around them, and often find that if they have not found the answer they seek by a certain age, they may sink into a difficult depression. These individuals would benefit from remembering that some things in life are not meant to be understood. 8. Individuals with this number have only one goal in life: to win. These individuals are extremely competitive in almost everything they do. They want to be number one in everything and are willing to fight hard for it. These are the type of people to turn everything into a competition, but they are also the type to work the absolute hardest for something they want. The greatest skill of this individual is their ability to focus on an end goal and push themselves past their current fatigue to reach that goal. These individuals care very little about their own comfort in a given situation. These individuals sometimes tend to work a little too hard and should remind themselves that it is often more important to take a break than to finish something. 9. Individuals with this number are often described as being philanthropic and a humanitarian. They are often very passionate about the activities they are involved in. These individuals are very powerful in their belief in themselves. These people often believe so strongly that they can accomplish anything they usually do. It is these individuals' pure willpower that sets them apart from the crowd. They are often their own champions and have no trouble cheering themselves on their whole life. With this strong high can sometimes mean a strong low as well. This means that while these individuals believe very strongly that they can do anything, if they are not able to do something important to them, they may fall into a deep depressive state. 11. Individuals with this number can be annoying with just how many skills they have. These individuals possess the ability to maintain any of these skills present in any of the other numbers. They have a beautiful charisma and often a sort of magnetism that attracts others to them. These individuals are often known to have psychic or supernatural abilities and a stronger connection to the metaphysical than others. Because of the wide range of abilities and personality traits that this individual may have, they often have difficulty with an inner sense of contradiction. They may struggle with seeing themselves as hypocritical. Finding a balance amongst all of their skills and emotions would be beneficial for these individuals. 12. Individuals with this number often find themselves described as a visionary. This number is often considered representative of the master builder, and as such, these individuals are often brilliant craftsmen. They may be woodworkers or contractors, or even architects. All of these professions are areas that these individuals thrive in. Someone of this number is exceptionally skilled at creating things and bringing life to ideas. These individuals are often very motivating to be around, and easily inspire those who experience them firsthand. These people are blessed with strong potential, and are often considered gifted in their youth. In their youth, these individuals should begin concocting some of their grandest schemes and considering how to bring them into reality. While it may take many years before they can do so, the fleshing out of these ideas beforehand will typically give them a strong base to start with. These individuals can sometimes have difficulty accepting their failures. They want everything they build to be perfect and can't handle it when they are not. Life path number 1 to 12. 1. Individuals with this number often strive for excellence in everything they do. They are true leaders and are very skilled at being kind and fair. These individuals are always sending themselves out there with the intention of accomplishing something above and beyond normal measures. And these individuals usually do accomplish these things. These people are often at their best and the most motivated when staring in the face of adversity. They are often pushed to accomplish incredible things when everyone believes they will not. A person with this number will accomplish huge things in their life and will choose a path that is difficult but motivating. 2. Individuals with this number are often inclined to want and yearn for peace in their everyday life. Often getting coined under the term peacemaker, these individuals strive for just that: peace and love amongst people. They are often problem solvers who like to spend time coming up with solutions to common societal problems. These people often have great judgment. They make great court judges as they are known for being fair and kind. These individuals are often remembered in history as the heads of peaceful protests and known for coming up with calm solutions for issues. 3. Those with this number are often brilliant public speakers. They often have great skills in communication and creating friends with those very different from them. They tend to live in the now and take challenges as they come. These individuals will often make choices based on how they are feeling in the moment rather than how they will feel in the future, and sometimes can suffer for it. 4. Individuals with this number are often very skilled at seeing things through and bringing to life ideas in their head. These individuals are finishers. They never do things that they do not see themselves committing to for the long haul. They are very dependable and can be trusted with big projects. 5. These people are typically infatuated with diversity and are very adventurous. They love to learn and experience different cultures around the globe. These individuals typically lead a life full of excitement and adventure, but lacking in organization. 6. Individuals with this number are known for being nurturing and caring. These individuals usually care very deeply in familial values. They often choose a life that allows them to be very involved in their families and may work from home or not work at all, but choose to be a stay-at-home parent. 7. This number usually leans towards traits having to do with detail and analytics. Individuals are typically good accountants and are great at handling things involving money or numbers. They tend to choose lives that are structured and reliable. 8. Individuals with this number are very ambitious. They typically have very big goals that they work very hard to accomplish. They are strongest in the face of problems and are great at finding easy solutions to tough issues. These individuals typically choose lives that relate to politics in some way. 9. These individuals are often described as humanitarian. They are typically very empathetic and compassionate to those around them. These individuals are typically not interested in money or power, but have a yearning to help people in their daily life. These individuals may choose lives in which they are strongly associated with non-profit organizations. 11. Individuals with this number are often very inspiring to those around them. These individuals often make brilliant public speakers and inspirational life coaches. Because of the presence of the master number, these individuals tend to be more inclined to have psychic abilities or be more connected to spiritual energies than others. 1222. These individuals are often expected to do great things, and their lives are very dependent upon themselves. People around these people typically have high expectations for them, and depending on how these individuals choose to live their lives, they can either exceed those expectations or not meet them at all. They are typically known as a wild card in this section of numerology, full of potential, but not guaranteed to use it. Heart's Desire, number 1 to 12. 1. These individuals often have a strong drive for independence. Their heart typically pulls them towards free and unconstrained lives without suffocating structure or organization. This allows for a certain level of confidence that is rare and should be prized. 2. Individuals with this number are often drawn towards peace. They typically desire peaceful solutions to societal issues and are often drawn towards professions that enforce peace as a core value. 3. Individuals with this number are often drawn to methods of self-expression. They typically have a desire for those around them to know how they feel and are typically very skilled at getting their emotions across. 4. These individuals often have an undying desire for their lives to maintain a sense of order and organization. People with this number often crave stability and structure in their day-to-day life. 5. The inner desire of individuals with this number is to travel and experience. These people yearn for freedom and to experience every culture they can. These individuals are lovers of food and wine. 6. These individuals have an extremely strong desire to care and nurture those around them. Nothing matters more to them than the safety and happiness of others. They are often driven to great lengths to care for those close to them. 7. The heart's desire of these individuals is to learn all that can be learned in a lifetime. They yearn for knowledge and understanding. They are often driven towards professions that are academic in nature. 8. These individuals often have a set idea of what it means to be successful. Their heart's desire is often to gain this success. Whether it be money, fame, or intellect, these individuals will stop at nothing to achieve their idea of a successful life. 9. The individuals with this number are often drawn to the idea of a utopia. They typically have a very defined definition of what they believe to be the perfect life or society, and are very driven towards this idea of perfection. 11. The individual with this number is often known for being very in tune with the world around them. They are typically described as an old soul. They seem to have lived much longer than they really have. 22. The only true desire of an individual with this number is to be remembered. They often strive to create a lasting impression on the people around them, and usually have a dream to leave their mark on the world. The birth date, number 1 to 31. 1. The individual with this number is often known for being very autonomous. These individuals like to make things happen and start new trends. 2. This number signifies balance, and as a result, individuals born on this day often crave stability and balance. 3. A person born on the third day often needs constant stimulation to be happy. They are very creative and need to constantly be doing something new to keep their creativity properly functioning. 4. People born on this day are often very responsible and care very deeply about how others perceive them. They tend to be very organized and like for things to go in their respective locations. 5. This number has a very special meaning due to its connection to the 5 points of the pentagram, the 5 senses, and the 5 elements. Due to this connection, individuals with this birthday number are often more in tune with their environment than others. 6. Individuals with this number care very deeply for justice and believe very strongly in fairness for all parties. They are angered by injustice and are known to stand up for those wronged. 7. Individuals under this number are often extremely meticulous. They love detail and pay attention to every small part of a situation. 8. 8s are ambitious individuals. They have lots of stamina and are willing to work harder than anyone else to reach their goals. 9. 9s tend to be idealistic. They have a particular image of happiness and don't settle for less than that. They are very sacrificial and want everyone to be happy. 10. The 10th day is greatly significant in the world of divination. Individuals born on this day often have a desire to be the best at everything they do. 11. As a master number, this date is extremely potent. The power of this number lies in the potential for balance. This number represents 2 opposing forces that, when combined in harmony, can do great things. 12. This individual has all of the creative skill of a number 3, with the added organizational skills of a number 2, and can create abstract art that still gives a clear and concise message. 13. These individuals are extremely analytic about themselves. Sometimes considered narcissistic, they often know themselves better than anyone else. 14. This number allows for extreme self-discipline. These individuals often take leaps of faith, but think through these leaps carefully. 15. These individuals often have an affinity for yoga or meditation, as their independent streak from the number 1 combines with their connection from the number 5. 16. These individuals often have difficulty allowing others to make decisions and may be accused of having a superiority complex. 17. These individuals may have difficulty letting other people into their inner circle and find they would be much happier if they let others into their lives. 18. These individuals are very passionate about seemingly random things. They are often the type of people to start a clique movement and spearhead charities for rare diseases. 19. These individuals are extremely social and love to have big circles of friends around them at all times. They still possess a sort of independence, courtesy of the number 1, but prefer to experience this independence with others. 20. These individuals often put their heart before their brain and may find themselves falling in love far too quickly. They often have a desire to be wanted or accepted and will do anything to keep the peace. 21. These individuals love working on crafts that use their hands or extenuate their sense of touch. This would include things like knitting, sewing, or building. 22. These individuals may have issues maintaining a constant in their life. They often drive for change, and as a result, may have many jobs before they are middle-aged. Despite this, they typically find themselves successful in life's endeavors. 23. These individuals are often searching for ways to be even more in tune with their environment than they already are. This can lead them to lives that are more naturalistic than normal. Think zero waste or minimalistic lifestyles. 24. These individuals often have difficulty focusing on their work as they are distracted by others. They are extremely empathetic and cannot stop thinking about another's problems until they are fixed. 25. These individuals tend to be obsessive-compulsive and have perfectionistic qualities. The work these people do is typically incredible, but they are almost never happy with it. 26. This individual usually has incredible personal accomplishment. Those accomplishments often have a way of pulling other people into success as well. 27. These individuals are very passionate, but also contain a sort of realism that allows them to think clearly about their passions and to put them into motion in an organized fashion. 28. These individuals need a partner in their life. They desire to be able to share their life with another, and are often known to marry young and keep that relationship for longer than people would expect. 29. These individuals combine an idealistic and analytic tendency to create someone that can pay attention to every last detail, even in things that are abstract or don't seem to matter to the common onlooker. 30. These individuals are typically very accomplished and want more than anything to be appreciated for this accomplishment. They don't particularly care about how their accomplishment helps others. 31. These individuals are often extremely entrepreneurial as they possess many rare skills and can implement them without much thought. These skills are typically surprising and lead to great success. How numerology can affect our everyday. Numerology presents itself in interesting ways on a daily basis. The following is just one way that someone's numerology may be the reason for incredible experiences. Business. Erica has many ideas for new and groundbreaking businesses. Many of these are things that have never been done before and would be extremely successful, but she is having difficulty getting them off the ground. She tends not to think things through and cannot always tell if the marketplace is in a position to accept her ideas. Thankfully, she just had a groundbreaking using her wide array of communication skills. She spoke to an already well-established business, and they agreed to sponsor her for her first few months of production. If not for her incredible persuasion skills, this never would have happened. Erica has a personality number of 1, which gave her the never-before-seen ideas. She has an expression number of 1 as well, which gives her the business ability to persuade the other business professionals. She has a life path number of 3, which gave her the communicational skills to convey her plan properly. She has the heart's desire number of 8, which gave her the motivation and drive to run towards what she would view as her success. Finally, she has the birth date number of 18, which allowed her to tap into untouched areas and come up with ideas that had not been fleshed out before. Chapter 10. Kundalini Rising. What is it? Kundalini Rising, aka Kundalini Awakening, is based on the idea that all humans contain some sort of energy within the base of their spine called Kundalini. The idea is that through vigorous meditation and yoga, this energy can be awakened and thus travel up and down the spine through the body. This energy is often represented as a coiled snake at the base of the spine, which matches with its name, which roughly translates into coiled. The results of this awakening are said to cause states of extreme bliss and enlightenment. To reach this period, it is said that the Kundalini needs to pass through several chakra points inside the human body and along the spine. It is believed that once this energy is awakened, it does not ever return to its coiled state, but will ebb and flow throughout the lifetime of that individual. Kundalini in history. The roots of the Kundalini idea trace their way back to ancient India, in the Indus Valley, ancient Egypt, and Sumerian civilizations. Most notably, we can see this in the ancient Vedic texts, in which numerous Rig Veda hymns praise the liquid known as Soma, that many believe to be a metaphor for this energy within us all. Kundalini has strong ties with the ancient god known as Lord Shiva, for Lord Shiva is always seen with a serpent wrapped around his neck, which some argue represents Kundalini. Possibly the most notable allegorical record of Kundalini is an ancient Ramayana tale, which tells the tale of a noble and his beautiful wife. In this tale, the noble, who goes by the name Rama, and his wife, who goes by the name Sita, are caught in escort with an evil demon called Ravana. Ravana kidnaps Sita, who is meant to encapsulate the ideal woman and perfect femininity, and imprisons her in an island fortress called Lanka. It is well known within this tale that Lanka is meant to represent a physical human body, and Sita is meant to represent the Kundalini energy. Ravana, on the other hand, is meant to represent the 5 senses and the 5 organs of action, which are believed to lead man towards desire and away from their spirituality. He represents this symbolically with his 10 heads. Rama is meant to represent the consciousness, and through powerful expertise, releases Sita, a very clear metaphor for the releasing of Kundalini energy within a human. Kundalini Yoga. Yoga, in recent years, has come to the forefront of modern physical fitness. With its image as the skinny girl who can do the splits and balance perfectly with her leg over her head, it has become a very popular form of physical workout. While Kundalini Yoga does offer some form of physical exertion, it has a taste of spirituality to go along with it. Kundalini Yoga is often performed with a more worship-like air about it. Often taking place in almost complete silence, and rarely in a gym, this workout is definitely different from many others. One of these differences is its vast spiritual history. This yoga is old and has managed to stay with almost the same principles for centuries. This is partly due to the fact that Kundalini does not have any overwhelming, strict, or suffocating dogmas to steer away practitioners. Kundalini allows itself not to be a strict religion, but simply a tool one can use to find their inner spirituality. In ancient times, yoga was not confined by definition of physical activity, but, in fact, was considered simply a connection to one's spiritual self through their bodies. They had no goals of physical fitness, but rather a connection to the energy they believe lives within us all. And for this connection, they stressed the fact that no buffer was necessary. No prayer or food or special dance, simply to practice and to focus. In fact, it is recorded that the first Kundalini sessions consisted of almost entirely no physical activity whatsoever. Disciples simply sat in front of their master and listened to the revelations about spirit. This practice was very common in ancient Vedic times and was later replicated in religious figures known as Buddha and Jesus. Throughout the years, this method of spirituality evolved until it began to include the physical acting out of the spiritual visions. This then evolved into what we know as yoga today. One of the reasons that this form of spiritual expression is not commonly known or spoken of today is due to its secretiveness throughout history. For thousands of years, the study of Kundalini was kept secret and sacred, known only by an inner group of spiritualists and their students. This was often explained through the idea that the public was not ready or prepared for such incredible knowledge, and that the awakening of Kundalini amongst the average folk would cause chaos and destruction. Kundalini would still be mostly lost to Western society if not for the teachings of a man known as Yogi Bhajan. Yogi chose to impart his wisdom upon the youth of the United States due to the uprising of the hippie movement in the late 1960s. He came to America and found hundreds of youth desperately wanting to be closer to their spiritual side and going about it in all the wrong ways through drugs and mysticism. He taught over 8,000 classes and also released a handful of books on the subject. At the beginning of his career, he is also credited with establishing the Healthy, Happy, Holy organization. Without this man, Kundalini Yoga and subsequent awakening would never have reached the States. Chapter 11. Kundalini Rising and You. Now that you fully understand the origins of Kundalini and how it has reached us, it is time to learn how you too can awaken the energy within. With the internet today, anyone can find hundreds and hundreds of ways to awaken the energy within them. However, the average person must approach these with caution, as this energy is extremely powerful, and without the learned expertise, over time, they may harm themselves or their chakra balances. Warning: we highly recommend that the listener consults with an expert regarding the awakening of their energy for their life before attempting to do so. 1. The first step to awakening your chakra energy is to practice mindful breathing exercises. To begin, you will want to relax and take several cleansing breaths in and out. You will want to begin to practice a sort of soft abdominal breathing. These are soft, calm breaths within you that eventually bring your abdomen and lungs to an equilibrium of gases. 2. Now, you will want to find with your mind's eye, this is easiest done with your eyes closed, the location of your kidneys. This may sound strange, but you simply have to visualize it. In the lower back of your body are your 2 kidneys. Visualize them and imagine their location. 3. You will want to massage the kidneys by releasing several breaths of air that expel all the air from your lungs and the bag within your abdomen. 4. At this point, to help with your breathing, you will want to begin chanting the phrase Num, Mum, Yum, Ha, Hum. As you exhale, you will want to focus and try to feel for the vibration of the right adrenal, the right kidney, and then the subsequent left adrenal or left kidney. 5. If you are having difficulty feeling the vibration in your kidneys, you can rub your lower back to promote the activity. 6. You will now want to make sure that you are in a comfortable position. 7. You will physically want to lift your arms above your head with your thumbs out. You will want to make sure your shoulders are rotated down and back. Rotating your thumbs back and forth, you should be able to feel the connection of your thumbs to your lungs. 8. You will now want to reach your index finger towards the sky and feel the large intestine connect to the rib cage. 9. You will want to lift your collarbones and feel a responding suspension of the kidneys. 10. Think back with your mind's eyes to the airbags and their connection to the kidneys. 11. You will now want to tuck the chin and release a small bit of air from the diaphragm. 12. Inhale deeply, feel the airbags, and make sure that the chin, tongue, palate, and sinuses are stacked neatly with a connection to the spinal cord. 13. Exhale slowly. You should feel the top of your lungs buoy upwards. 14. Inhale again, touching the top of the chest to the bottom of the abdomen. 15. Exhale and feel the chakra point at the top of the nose. 16. Breathe again, letting the chakra point expand. 17. Feel the vertebrae of your spinal cord lift and extend upwards slightly. Practicing this meditation system on a regular basis can help guide you to your own Kundalini awakening. Now we will describe some of the common side effects and positive as well as negative experiences of those who have awakened their own energy within themselves. Kundalini energy is often described as a sensation of electricity or internal lightning bolts within the person at the site of the awakening. People are often described to shake or jerk their body parts or limbs. This is usually completely out of the control of the individual who is awakening their energy. You may also feel upon the awakening of this energy a sensation of insects crawling along your spinal cord, along with feelings of either intense heat or intense cold. The individual in question may also feel an intense moment of pleasure that sometimes leads to an orgasmic state. They also may experience sudden and unexplainable mood swings, far beyond normal highs and lows. As this is a result of the awakening, people often report having much more empathetic bonds with those around them. They have also said that this increased level of empathy results in telepathic or psychic abilities. Aging has been said to slow as a result of the rising of Kundalini, as well as the increase in creative ability and charismatic personality traits. These individuals often say that the great mysteries of life are no longer mysteries. They are connected more deeply to all that is and ever was. An individual in search of the enlightenment that comes with the awakening of Kundalini is strongly urged to consult with professionals and support groups on the matter. Trying to find an experienced Kundalini yoga instructor who has experienced an awakening themselves will greatly help someone whose desire it is to awaken this incredible power. Attempting to awaken this power on your own can result in terrible consequences, as well as simply not working at all. Many support groups can be found online, and Kundalini yoga instructors are common in larger cities. If you have trouble finding one in your local area, many online instructors openly give their knowledge to the public. They can be found on YouTube, Pinterest, and blog sites. Many YouTube videos have been made on the process of awakening the Kundalini, as well as how to cope with the aftermath. If you have experienced an awakening, or would like to, we would highly recommend searching through these. Conclusion. From the origins of humanity's biggest questions to the modern-day awakening of deep and ancient energy that lies within us all, this text has covered a significant amount of ancient divinity. We will sum up this text within these next few sentences by going over the topics we have touched on since the beginning of this audiobook. In Chapter 1, we introduced horoscopes and gave some background on their origins and how they have begun to rise in popularity to become the commonality we see in mainstream media today. In Chapter 2, we went through the common stereotypes of each zodiac sign and explained why a lot of them are based on fact, but not wholly the truth. We went in depth into the common traits associated with each zodiac sun sign, as well as how they work in real-life scenarios. In Chapter 3, we delved into the depths of someone's birth chart. We began by explaining the importance of each house of the chart and how they relate to each other. We spoke of each of the planets that house the zodiac, as well as the transcendental planets, which are those that are not found in traditional astrology. Finally, we gave an example birth chart to help you understand the dynamics of reading and interpreting the birth chart. Chapter 4, we devoted entirely to the ascendant, which is a section of the birth chart that often goes unnoticed, but that holds arguably more power within your birth chart than your sun sign. In Chapter 5, we gave a more in-depth history of tarot cards and the common uses of them in history. Chapter 6 began with the discussion about tarot cards and their extensive background. We attempted to cover as much about tarot cards as possible, and still only managed to scratch the surface. We went in depth into the meaning of each of the cards found in the Major Arcana series, which is often seen as the core of the tarot deck. In Chapter 7, we connected all of the previous ideas covered and gave examples of how all of the different forms of divinity work together to create one whole, rather than one section being completely in charge of an individual's personality and life choices. The next chapter, Chapter 8, began to delve into numerology. We began by explaining how an average person can calculate the various numerology numbers found within their names and birth dates. We then gave an in-depth gave an in-depth meaning behind each of the numbers that we calculated. Finally, we finished this chapter by giving real-life examples of how these numbers can present themselves in a person's everyday life. In Chapter 10, we gave a deeper history of Kundalini Rising and its significance in the hippie movement. We also gave some examples of its presence in ancient texts and stories. We also gave a quick rundown on how the Kundalini Yoga organization came to America in the 1960s. Finally, in the last chapter, Chapter 11, we gave a quick and shortened. This has been Astrology, what you need to know about the 12 zodiac signs, tarot reading, numerology, and Kundalini Rising. Written by Kimberly Moon. Narrated by Brian R. Scott. Copyright 2019 by Kimberly Moon. Production copyright by Kimberly Moon.
Tarot, an essential beginner's guide to psychic tarot reading, tarot card meanings, tarot spreads, numerology, and astrology. Written by Kimberly Moon. Narrated by Rhett Samuel Price. Introduction. You always been interested in tarot, but you just didn't know where to start? Have you wondered if you were psychic and had no way to test it out? Have you had a tarot deck sitting on your shelf for ages that you haven't touched because you weren't sure? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this audiobook is for you. Welcome to Tarot, an essential beginner's guide to psychic tarot reading, tarot card meanings, tarot spreads, numerology, and astrology. You will not regret doing so, for the following chapters are full of information you can use to not only understand the tarot, finally, but to literally change your life. The audiobook will begin with an examination of the history of tarot cards and their usage across time in Chapter 1, before going into the art of the tarot itself in Chapter 2. In that second chapter, you'll learn about how to connect with your intuition, how to choose a deck, and what the pros and cons of Chapter 1, Tarot History. Tarot is essentially a card game designed to tell fortunes and reveal the future. It didn't start off that way, though. At first, tarot was simply a deck of cards for playing card games socially. Tarot decks at first were only comprised of those original 56 cards, and they hardly looked anything like they do today. In the early days of tarot, the deck was rather simple. With no major arcana section whatsoever, they were just the court face cards and the remaining 40 suited cards, with each suit counting ace through 10. The early days of tarot were also likely not as ancient as you'd like to think. Early days of tarot were simply the late 14th and early 15th centuries. Tarot practices across time. While many ancient cultures surely have their own means of divination, it is unlikely that the actual tarot deck of today existed anywhere across time, except from around the turn of the 15th century. There is no archaeological proof of this long-time connection, and we have virtually no historical proof of the tarot's existence unless we look at Europe around the 15th century. Despite this concrete history, which places the first tarot decks being released and played casually as a card game, not as a divination tool, around 1375, it is possible that the ancient mysteries and archetypes revealed by the major arcana cards especially, which weren't added to the deck until around 1450, may have actually been passed down from ancient cultures across the world. The symbols in the tarot seem older than time itself. Perhaps this is why people freely speculate about tarot being older than history can prove. Perhaps this is why people across the world can relate to the cards. The symbols speak to us in ways we often can't put words to, and that's the essence of divination. Interestingly enough, however, these images on both the major and minor arcana cards were added to the deck much later. I already explained how the major arcana section of the deck came later, around 1450, as opposed to when the tarot was invented around 1350. However, it is useful to explain this history a little more. Tarot was originally played as a parlor game called Triumph that was similar to Bridge today, and that game had absolutely no divination intent. However, With growing interest in divination in Europe around the turn of the 17th century, people began to associate their own, much deeper meanings to the cards. At this time, the deck would have consisted of a detailed major arcana section with a far simpler minor arcana section, and the court face cards may have been beautiful, but the pip cards, numbering ace through 10, would have been extremely simple with just the cups, swords, wands, and coins. Nothing else. Even around the turn of the 19th century, the deck was still incredibly simple, without much adornment on those pip cards, but people were much more fascinated in the tarot as a means of divination than anything else at this time. In fact, the first divination-only tarot deck was designed and released on the European market by Jean-Baptiste Alliot in 1791. This French occultist developed the imagery on the major arcana and court face cards extensively, but the pip cards were still largely neglected. It wasn't until the turn of the 20th century that a follower of Aleister Crowley's philosophy, Arthur Waite, teamed up with fellow occultist and artist Pamela Coleman Smith in order to design the cards as we know them today. At this point, tarot got its first distinctly American influences, and the study of tarot increased in popularity, allowing it to spread across the world like wildfire. Waite insisted on the importance of including people and imagery on the pip cards, as well as all the others, if not for any other reason than to give the card readers at home a little more to work with on those previously basic cards. Smith's artwork was finalized, and the deck was released to the world under the name of the Rider-Waite deck, although some still call it the Waite-Smith deck in recognition of the artist herself. Debate over origins. There are legends about the first tarot deck originating in ancient Egypt. Popular theories from the late 18th century tend to support this claim, but there's not much actual history behind this connection. It was in 1781 that a Frenchman named Antoine Court de Geblin claimed this ancient Egyptian connection through a paper he had published. He was convinced that the images on the major arcana cards were taken directly from the mythology and cosmology of ancient Egypt. He even claimed that the Catholic Church and the popes knew of this age-old connection, and that they wanted desperately to keep it hidden. Of course, people at the time loved this story, and despite its lack of historical background, they bought it hook, line, and sinker. There are legends that the tarot deck originated in gypsy culture. People see the mystical images on the cards and associate them with the eccentricity and occultism they stereotypically expect from gypsies across time. Thriller culture hasn't helped with these stereotypes either. There are frequent depictions in films of gypsies with the tarot decks, or of them simply reading people's fortunes. And while gypsies surely had their own nomadic indigenous styles of earth magic and divination, if they were associated with tarot decks, it was probably because someone picked up a deck of parlor playing cards and then infused it with his or her own meaning. Tarot wouldn't have been all that accessible to gypsies otherwise, unless someone was able to make his or her own deck from scratch. There are legends that the tarot deck originated from Kabbalistic Jewish practice. The major arcana's symbols matched the same number as paths to follow in the Kabbalah's tree of life. There are 22 of each, and the symbols align almost perfectly. People love to speculate that the imagery and symbolism were meant to be aligned because these cards were first designed by these people, but that historical hunch is incredibly hard to prove. It's much more likely that the rise of occultist interest around the turn of the 20th century in Europe influenced tarot deck artists, and therefore the way the cards looked, to create decks that appeared as if more Kabbalistic secrets had been infused all along. Surely around this time, Hermetic mysticism crept into the deck as well, and Egyptian symbolism, mythology, and cosmology have already been infused into the deck almost a century before. There are even legends that the tarot deck originated around the, decidedly less ancient, time of the Cathars, circa 1150. The Cathars were a practicing sect of Christianity that believed Roman Catholicism worshipped idols and held impure beliefs about their own power. They practiced a much more orthodox sect of Christianity, but it was also somehow more aligned with what we today see as the occult. These Cathars believed in reincarnation, practicing rituals, and the ancient mysteries of this earth. Some people, therefore, think the Cathars may have produced the first images for the major arcana cards, although in reality those cards weren't produced until around 3 centuries later. Tarot decks are not as pure and ancient as we once thought. It turns out they've been altered and adapted greatly over time too, which is perhaps a part of why their exact origin feels so difficult to pinpoint. Additionally, the tarot's images are poignant, and their symbolistic meanings feel ubiquitous, reaching across languages and cultural barriers to express truths about humanity as a whole. Tarot certainly feels ancient. I would have believed that tarot arose out of ancient Egypt as someone I trusted insisted on it, but that's why doing your own research can be so important and validating. The history of tarot proves that tracking down the deck's exact origins is complicated, an unfolding process like trying to escape from a maze. The more you think you know, the more there is to correct your thinking. Regardless of where and when the tarot arose, however, it's here for us today, and its abilities to help us are extensive. There are so many possibilities to do with the spread or layouts of cards. You can get so many different kinds of decks these days. You can take classes to learn more about tarot, both online and in person. You can download apps on your devices devoted to tarot so you can learn on the go. It almost doesn't matter where tarot came from because it's clearly a constant work in progress that keeps getting strengthened, enhanced, and adapted through time. As you can, just be grateful that it's here for you today. Relax and feel supported by this knowledge. Grab a nearby deck of tarot cards and let them connect you with your fate. Chapter 2. The Art of Tarot. Regardless of how old it is exactly, tarot is a divinatory art that uses symbols, numbers, and connections to the collective unconscious in order to express its meaning. It's designed like a card game with 78 cards versus the standard deck with 52 cards. It's not played like a standard deck of cards either. Tarot relies on ancient mysteries to establish its visual truth, and by arranging the cards in a certain fashion, you can receive insight into your issues or illnesses, and you can obtain messages from your higher self and the universe. Connecting to intuition. Tarot card reading is so much more about connecting to one's higher self than it is about divining the inherent truth of the cards. The cards always contain the same images and the same basic meanings, but by your shuffling and intentional questioning of the deck, the cards group into arrangements that reveal deep and lasting truths that will resonate only for the querent. However, it must be emphasized that the cards are not the entities that hold power with tarot, and neither is the querent, the person you're drawing cards for or about. The reader of the cards is that entity, and his or her higher self is the center of that power. When you decide that you're ready to embrace tarot and start reading the cards, remember this truth as you proceed. It doesn't necessarily matter what deck you choose, for it's much more important how you use the cards of any deck. Use the deck for healing and growth purposes, and it will never do anyone harm. There are certainly rumors that tarot is evil, unholy, or that it invites in spirits that can hurt you. I say now, firmly, tarot isn't about that. Tarot is simply about the reader of the cards connecting with his or her higher self in an effort to answer questions and to heal. When you engage in your own readings of the cards, remember the importance of your intuition, for it is your direct channel to your higher self. If you ever feel that something I've said doesn't jive with your intuition, please don't force yourself to accept it. Your intuition is your highest truth, and it is much more valuable to you than my words are. If indeed you do have this experience with any guidance or associations I elucidate, make a note in your own tarot journal. Keep record of these insights, for they are so endlessly helpful for you, both now and in the future. Choosing your deck. Choosing your deck is one of the most fun, although sometimes stressful, moments for the beginner practitioner of tarot. There are certainly a number to choose from. If you're looking at decks online, there are probably hundreds of options. If you're looking at your local bookstore or metaphysical store, there are still a lot, but hopefully not quite so many. As you go about making these choices, follow the guidelines below for some assistance. How to apply intuition. Remember that your intuition is your inherent connection with your higher self. As you strive to choose a tarot deck for yourself, it is so essential that you learn to let your intuition be your guide. Whether you're shopping online or in person, try this exercise to apply your intuition to the task. Gather 3 to 4 potential tarot decks that you really like. Hold the options in hand, or in your real or virtual shopping cart. Sit with these options for a while, and try to turn off your thinking mind. Almost enter a meditative state as you take in your options and reject any logic-based choices. You want the choice to arise totally naturally, as if it's been your truth all along. Psychic choices. If you're having trouble using your intuition, you can go a step further to see what your psychic choice would be. It might seem counterintuitive that making a psychic choice would be easier than making an intuitive choice, but the trick in this instance is your eyes. When you're working through intuition, you'll want to keep your eyes open so that you're using some part of your mind to make the selection. It's important that you struggle through what's logical versus what's deeper, truer, and emotional. When you're working through psychic potential, however, you'll want those eyes 100% shut. Close off your physical body to any influences whatsoever and let your psychic powers guide your choice. Again, this method works for both in-store and online shopping. For online shoppers, gather all the potential items in your shopping cart, close your eyes, spin around a few times if you can, and then point out the deck that's meant to be yours. Open your eyes at the very end to see which one you've selected. Types of decks. There are so many different kinds of decks that it's almost overwhelming to approach. For your ease, it will help to know that some decks are specifically tarot decks, while some will say they are oracle decks. These oracle decks are totally different. While the tarot has 78 cards divided between 22 major arcana and 56 minor arcana, oracle decks can have any number of cards, and each one is like its own major arcana card with impressive themes and meanings. Additionally, there are no court face cards and no numbered pip cards, like the 4 of Wands, 8 of Cups, etc., in an oracle deck. Overall, I'd steer clear of oracle decks if you truly want to work with tarot, although oracle decks are equally awesome and fun in their own right. Another tip is that some tarot decks are oriented toward themes that may not resonate with you. There are Black Cat tarot decks, Egyptian-themed tarot decks, gay culture tarot decks, animal wisdom tarot decks, David Bowie-themed tarot decks, unicorn tarot decks, medieval-themed tarot decks, Renaissance-themed tarot decks, wartime tarot decks, wild unknown tarot decks, Tarot Apocalypse decks, Age of Aquarius tarot decks, Druid-themed tarot decks, Animals and Nature tarot decks, Illuminati tarot decks, and so much more. Finally, there are the basic decks that use the same essential imagery from the Rider-Waite tarot deck with just a unique flourish from the artist. The Rider-Waite tarot deck was designed and released in 1909 and is the most basic, most traditional deck still produced in mass today. Furthermore, there are decks with large-sized cards versus small-sized cards, and I always recommend that bigger cards are better, especially for starting practitioners. There are also decks that come with their own explanatory books, while there are decks that come alone. I prefer the ones with attached books. I can never get enough tarot books, though. More later on that. Pros and cons. Generally, follow these pros and cons as you decide which deck will be yours. Pros. Large card size. Relatable theme. No discernible theme. Package comes with a detailed book. Definitely a tarot deck, not an oracle deck. Relatable art. A note on this point. Some tarot decks only show white people, and that won't matter for some, but it will absolutely ostracize other practitioners. The reader of the cards must be able to relate to the art on the cards, so seek out art that reflects your skin color if you can. Again, this note is more helpful for some than others. for I know that some people won't be bothered by this element whatsoever. The deck seemingly chose you. Good paper quality. Attached book is large, extensive, detailed, and well written. Good reviews of the product for online shoppers. Good card thickness. Perfectly affordable within your means. Cons. Cards are too small. Not a relatable theme for you. Theme is too loud in the cards or is distracting. No book comes with the package. It's an oracle deck, not a tarot deck. Not relatable art. Someone chose the deck for you, or you don't think it chose you. Poor paper quality. Attached book is small or poorly written. Poor reviews of the product for online shoppers. Cards feel too thick or too thin. Not affordable within your current means. Reading the cards. Now that you've received some assistance in choosing your deck, you're going to need to understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. Tarot is a beautiful divination art that allows you to connect with realms deep within and far outside the self. It's a helpful tool used to provide growth, balance, support, and flourishing to anyone's life. There are so many different things you can do with a tarot deck too. It might all look the same, for you're always just shuffling cards and drawing some out of the deck. But the intention behind these acts can vary significantly to the potential benefit of so many people. Decision-making. Tarot is an excellent tool to boost one's decision-making abilities. So many people these days are indecisive or unsure how to resolve large issues that loom over their lives. So many people, too, are hoping for growth, but don't know the right direction. Tarot can provide that decision, resolution, growth, direction, and more, with hardly anything done on the individual's part aside from placing one's hands on the deck and asking a question to the universe. Tarot can help you make the tough choices that you face and truly enables anyone to regain control over his or her life from here on out. From now on, with the assistance of tarot, you'll be able to choose your life path with confidence, learn how to own up to your mistakes, uncover the reasons behind your anxieties, fears, and diseases. Make simple decisions easier through 1 to 5 card pulls. Discern your motivation. Assess most likely outcomes. Assert your values in ideal situations. And so much more. Quality of life. Tarot can remind you that you are in control of your life. It often feels like we're being thrown through situations and experiences like a rag doll. But we as humans have an incredible amount of free will. When you ask questions of the tarot, the answers provided come from the reader's higher self, and they are almost always inflected with a divine intention. Therefore, these answers are not going to direct you toward failure or floundering or loss. They're only going to urge you toward growth, but it's up to you to choose whether or not you follow the path revealed to you by the cards. Look forward to the following benefits to your life after working with tarot. Enhanced compassion and empathy for others. Amplified ability to empower yourself and others. Develop, honed, and focused psychic abilities. Increased potential for creativity and creative expression. Enhanced self-awareness and consciousness of the world. Increased trust in your intuition and higher self. Better understanding of how much willpower one has. And much more. Insight and life help. Tarot can also generally provide insight into one's circumstances and assist anyone in need, whether they're in need of direction, assistance, clarity, or otherwise. Tarot spreads are perfectly designed for this task, and you will find 20 detailed spreads to choose from in Chapter 4. Furthermore, by connecting the reader with his or her intuition, psychic abilities, and higher self, that person will be aided deeply. Additionally, both readers and querents will experience increased and enhanced abilities to heal and receive guidance from the universe. Ask the cards one short question or a long, detailed one. You're sure to receive helpful insights and tidbits for refreshed direction in the future. Helping others and world healing. As you master the tarot, you'll be increasingly knowledgeable, empathetic, and willing to help others. You'll find your capacity for patience boosted, and as a reader of the cards, you'll carry great responsibility to share this patience and fresh knowledge with others. With this knowledge, you'll also carry information about the greatest archetypal energies known to humankind across time. You will carry the stories, you will bear the burdens, but you will also hold the key that unchains all our shackles. As you grow in your knowledge and appreciation of tarot, don't be afraid to ask questions that will benefit individuals, whole groups of people, or the Earth as a planet and nurturing entity. Widen your scope, open your eyes, and proceed bravely without fear. With knowledge comes great responsibility, but don't worry, I guarantee you'll love every minute of it. Chapter 3. The Cards. Most essential part of understanding the tarot is being able to assess the meanings of the cards themselves. What does the Emperor mean? What is the...
Now, this part here, y'all, is an hour and a half. I'm gonna let this part play, and then we'll end it, and we'll start back up tomorrow sometime on the rest of it, because we still got a good bit to go.
Suit of Cups all about? What's a Page of Swords? What's an ace mean in this deck? What if I pull a card that's upside down? All of these questions and more will be answered in this chapter, and you will end this section feeling confident that there's a substantial well of knowledge to draw from when you conduct your first tarot readings. Major Arcana. The Major Arcana, also called the Greater Arcana, reveals the inner mysteries of humanity. They tell the story of humanity in the form of 22 archetypal images, and each piece of the story reveals deep truths about the nature of existence as a human in this reality. The 22 cards in the Major Arcana are numbered from 0 to 21, or 1 to 22. Occasionally, the Major Arcana starts with 0, the Fool, but I've listed the Fool last here as number 22, which is equally common. The point with the Fool is that it begins the cycle, and when that cycle ends, the Fool starts it up again. Therefore, it exists on both extremes and earns its right to be both 0 and 22. Some decks will have a Major Arcana section with numbered cards 1 through 22 without these same card names. Worry not. The archetypes are still always the same in deeper meaning. Even with different names, card 1 from the Major Arcana will always represent what the Magician does. Card 2 will always relate to the High Priestess's energy. Card 3 will always signify the Empress's energy, and so on. For your convenience in this chapter, I've explained what each card means when it's right side up, as well as when it's upside down. When you pull a card upside down, it's called in reverse, and it typically lessens the effect of the card in question, but occasionally it means that matters will be more intense than what the card describes. 1. The Magician. The Magician is all about seeing your path ahead, making decisions, and taking actions. This card signifies that it's time to follow your dreams. There has been time for introspection, but now is the time for action. The Magician represents a powerful source of inspiration that is ready to act as your muse, and it predicts that you will be able to work on complex projects at this time. This card stands for finding your flow, taking first steps, becoming empowered, embracing your willpower, activating your energy, following direction, and engaging in creativity. Power and success lie ahead. In reverse, the Magician signifies that your flow has become blocked. There are projects you dream of that just aren't working out. It might not be your fault, so look at the cards that appear around the Magician in reverse to find clues to this issue. 2. The High Priestess. The High Priestess card is all about appreciating the feminine in the world. This card suggests the value of stillness, contemplation, passivity, sensitivity, reflection, and depth. This card tells you that you can manifest your dreams as long as you're open to the mysterious feminine energy within you. Overall, the High Priestess stands for the divine feminine, initiation gateways, the collective unconscious, true wisdom, dream guidance, and powerful intuition. In reverse, the High Priestess signifies that you will need to take a step back in life in order to access this divine feminine grace and insight. You might need to tone things down, or you may be caught up in delusions that distract you from this capacity. It's time to find stillness and refocus so that things don't turn disastrous. 3. The Empress. The Empress card suggests that abundance is headed your way. This card represents the potential of abundance through reproduction as well as financial prosperity in your life and more. For those invested in the reproductive meaning, this card signifies fertility, creation, and the product of two true lovers. For those divested from this meaning, this card is still incredibly significant. It represents fertile ideas that exist within you and the potential for you to use them, likely soon, in order to change your circumstances for the better. In reverse, the Empress signifies a blockage to your creative expression. Upside down, this card represents impotence, infertility, poverty, repressed truth, and lack of what is, in essence, the Empress herself. With these blockages in place, you will struggle to achieve the abundance the Empress wants to offer you. Look to the surrounding cards for clues regarding how to remove these blockages. 4. The Emperor. The Emperor card represents the quintessential divine masculine. It is about power, fatherhood, leadership, protection, order, and successful accomplishments. Pulling this card in a reading suggests that success is imminent. As long as you use the strength of your will and your clear, focused intellect, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. This card can also represent a father figure or paternal entity in your life that you may or may not be getting along well with. In reverse, the Emperor signifies what happens when authority is lost. Perhaps tyranny occurs, perhaps unproductive revolution, perhaps lack of center, and perhaps additional strength. The outcome is up to you. Furthermore, this reversal can represent the loss of a father figure, lack of focus, indecision, or lack of self-worth in relation to your dreams. It can also be a clue that you've been overly judgmental against others recently. 5. The Hierophant. The Hierophant card represents the importance of learning, tradition, and routine. This card will appear in a reading to remind you to take counsel of those you trust most before making major decisions. Furthermore, it will remind you to value those people whose counsel you utterly trust. The Hierophant encourages the following of established traditions, but he also accepts that there is a limitation in tradition that some cannot withstand. For those individuals, this card represents what may stand in your way to success. For those who accept and embrace tradition, this card represents the beginning of your journey to self-actualization. In reverse, the Hierophant signifies what happens when tradition goes out the window: chaos, rebellion, and free flow of wisdom. While this situation may sound entirely beneficial to some, structure in the sharing of wisdom is much preferred to free flow, and systems are more effective when they are in place than they are when they are in ruins. Watch out for rejection or a shifting in values. 6. The Lovers. The card of the Lovers represents that love is headed your way. However, it insists that you cannot handle love if you're not able to first love and appreciate yourself. The Lovers can be a signal that your twin flame is headed into your life, but it could also represent the urgent need for you to fall in love with yourself as your own twin flame. This card insists we appreciate the logic that the heart holds dear, for it is more valuable than many could ever imagine. In reverse, the Lovers signify that struggles in love are ahead. Whether it's indecision, jealousy, unrequited or chaotic love, separation, or impotence, something's about to be disturbed in your romantic haven. If you don't have a partner, it could be that some issues are arising in your personality that are keeping you from experiencing self-love. Look to surrounding cards for clues as to how you can fix the situation. 7. The Chariot. The Chariot card signifies that any issues you're working through will be resolved in a short time. It suggests that embracing control of your life will allow you to find both the peace and the change you desire in the situation. The Chariot insists on growth, mastery, success, triumph, journeying, development, and understanding. However, none of this success can happen without first struggling through conflict. So the Chariot card also assumes that trials have happened recently or are happening that will soon be resolved. The Chariot shows how even a successful person is a work in progress. In reverse, the Chariot signifies interruptions in your path to success or blatant failures that stand in your way. It can also symbolize a loss of or general lack of control that leads to burnout. This card can represent upcoming danger, but it is often a danger that will only affect your personality. Without careful consideration and alteration to your circumstances, you will stagnate and your growth will be disastrously interrupted. 8. Strength. The Strength card, with its image of a brave woman standing beside a large beast, demonstrates the peace of the goddess that exists within every person. Both men and women have goddess blessings within that express as patience, understanding, compassion, and charisma. This card signals that those blessings are present and working to your advantage. Furthermore, strength signifies the importance of faith and courage, even for feminine individuals. Strength reminds us all to get back in touch with our inner wildness in order to honor our highest selves. In reverse, strength signifies a lack of courage that borders on fear. Instead of being brave and accessing one's blessings, this card in reverse symbolizes that one is experiencing torment, hopelessness, and failed interrogations of any lessons the universe has presented. If you pull strength in reverse, look out for places in your life where weakness or indecision could be holding you back. Find stillness and carefully examine your emotions and thoughts for clues about how to move forward. 9. The Hermit. The Hermit card is a powerful indicator that intense transformation lies ahead, but it also suggests that you will need to spend serious time alone to embrace that transformative path. The Hermit forces you to face those spiritual and emotional elements in your life that are likely holding you back. Furthermore, this card reminds you of your connection to your higher self. Once you access that alone time, this connection will be both strengthened and developed so that it's more useful to you than ever. If you pull the Hermit card, it's time to withdraw, get introspective, and retreat into your own psyche for a little while. When you re-emerge, you will be like a butterfly emerging from its caterpillar cocoon. In reverse, the Hermit signifies the worst that can happen with alone time: isolation, ostracism, fear, loneliness, and stagnation. If you pull the Hermit in reverse, look closely at your social patterns to see if you've been too isolated to sustain growth. Sometimes this alone time starts out healthy and turns toxic, as with moments after betrayal, crisis, or breakup. To ensure things remain productive, embrace this shadow time as a temporary thing that will inevitably lead to growth, rather than seeing it as a moment to inhabit for eternity. 10. The Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune card suggests that bounty is coming. It shows how you can reap the rewards of your current situation by channeling prosperity and by embracing inevitability. To receive this card in a reading means that one season of the self is ending to make way for the next, more powerful season. The Wheel of Fortune represents the Hermit's wisdom and introspection put into action. It's the next step after the Hermit's necessary isolation, which is the actualization of the individual's soul mission. In reverse, the Wheel of Fortune signifies that you're being faced with change, but fiercely ignoring it. This card shows how your internal harvest may have been bittersweet, or perhaps more bitter than sweet whatsoever, rather than productive. Additionally, there may be more difficult times ahead before you're able to grow. The trick to this situation may be allowing yourself the freedom to let go of what no longer serves. 11. Justice. The Justice card represents that there's a clear path to success in your vicinity. You will have to access balance and clarity, however, in order to find that path. Furthermore, you'll have to learn intimately your own truth. Those who pull justice should know that an important dilemma will surface in your life shortly, and your choice will determine so much. Make sure that you're actively choosing in response to the dilemma rather than just reacting to the options instinctually. Take the time to think things out and embrace what is truly best. In reverse, justice signifies the existence of imbalance, dishonesty, and unfairness in reference to both of the self and others. If you pull this card, Look to your life to find what's causing imbalance. Open a wide, discerning, introspective eye toward yourself to see where injustice or unfairness may be controlling your actions unintentionally. 12. The Hanged Man. The Hanged Man card represents your experience becoming intensified, refocused, deepened, or expanded. The Hanged Man on the card hangs upside down, and this positioning represents a paradigm shift and a complete perspective upheaval. However, this shifting and upheaval is nothing but positive. If you draw this card, your future holds a huge reversal that will draw good things and progress your way. Expect upheavals, shifting, and transformations, but don't be afraid. By drawing this card, it signifies that you may even be set to experience a shaman-style initiation into the secrets of the universe after you emerge from the phase of the Hanged Man. In reverse, the Hanged Man signifies the inability to adjust to a new paradigm. Receiving this card in a reading could indicate that you're fighting progress, that you're playing the victim, or that you're not self-aware enough to handle the transitions ahead. Tune deeply into your thoughts and try to experiment by playing devil's advocate with yourself as much as possible. Turn your life on its head for a resolution to this issue. 13. Death. The Death card is not as literal as you might think, and I strongly discourage you from feeling scared or frustrated when you draw this card. Death is one of the most inspiring and positive cards in the deck, as a matter of fact. Death signifies full-on transformation. One must submerge into the depths of the self before he or she can rise up with new power. Consider the images of the phoenix, the resurrection, and the initiation. When you draw this card, it suggests that you may be about to greet your shadow side. But if you do, you'll be remade stronger, more powerful, and more passionate about your goals than ever before. Prepare for intensity, passion, and the shedding of what doesn't serve you. In reverse, death signifies that you're about to greet your shadow side, but the outcome may not be as beneficial as you'd like unless you change a few things. For now, this card in reverse suggests that you're likely to meet your shadow with fear, which could lead to stagnation, exhaustion, and pessimism. As you move forward, stay open to what's to come and agree to forgive yourself to avoid the worst. 14. Temperance. The card of Temperance signifies potential for magic, lasting peace, and pain transmuted into positivity. This card is a very hopeful one to draw in any reading. If you do draw Temperance, it likely means that you've just emerged from a period of great upheaval, or it could suggest that you have just come to incredible new knowledge about yourself in a spiritual sense. What you do with this enhanced knowledge is what can be likened to magic. In reverse, Temperance signifies that you're in a state of imbalance. You've lost track of your path and your center, and you may have been extra argumentative with others recently too. You're likely feeling fragmented or torn in disparate directions, and you'll need to bring yourself back together before you can achieve any sense of harmony. Look to these surrounding cards to find out how to go about that. 15. The Devil. Despite its name, this card, like the Death card, appears more terrifying than it actually is. Drawing this card does not mean you're possessed or doomed in any sense. It can mean, however, that you're being controlled by something external or material that you'd be better off free from. Consider how you're being repressed or obsessed by things outside yourself. Consider how you're being controlled or limited by some potential addiction, whether it be to drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, coffee, shopping, stealing, etc. The Devil card points out how you've been shackled, and it reminds you how important it is to reclaim your own power of will. In reverse, the Devil signifies what you likely feared from the Devil card itself: detrimental circumstances, abuse of power, devastating unhappiness, lack of self-control to temptation, and the resurfacing or surfacing of one's inner demons. If you draw this card, be very cautious about how you proceed. If you aim for growth, many things will need to change. 16. The Tower. The Tower card suggests that you remained imprisoned by the Devil card and had to fight your way out. Traditionally, the Tower represents strife, conflict, destruction, devastation, and utter despair. However, I see the Tower as a bit more hopeful. If you draw the Tower, it means that you've decided to fight for something you believe in, and you're destroying everything left of that toxicity in order to succeed in your fight. The destruction comes from your liberation. The upheaval comes from immense and instant illumination. The beauty of creation awaits you once more as soon as your struggles settle. In reverse, the Tower signifies that the concept of illumination may have been frightening or daunting to you. It suggests that you've shut yourself up in the Tower rather than broken free from it. Furthermore, concepts of imprisonment and avoidance of responsibility abound when pulling this card. If you do draw the Tower reversed in a reading, remember to release all fear and proceed as bravely and confidently as possible. 17. The Star. The Star card represents a beautiful and transcendent openness that results from true illumination. This card suggests the happy resolution to all the events signified by the Tower. Furthermore, the Star contains the potential for wholeness, lasting healing, and completion of detrimental cycles. If you draw this card in your reading, be proud, yet calm and hopeful. Good things are coming your way. In reverse, the Star signifies what can happen when the Tower in reverse advances in time. Stagnation, waste of time, loss of self-respect, and loss of intuitive potential. If you shut yourself down to the potential for illumination, it's not surprising that you'll have likewise shut yourself down to progress and growth. Breathe deeply and believe in yourself as you move forward with this knowledge. 18. The Moon. The Moon card takes a step beyond what's happened with the Star and asserts the querent as a fully functioning psychic in training. If you draw this card, embrace the divine feminine in your life and devote yourself to your truth. Be unafraid to greet your shadow self, for your dark reflection is still that, your reflection. You may withdraw from society for a time, or you may be in that period now, but that withdrawal does not mean isolation, for you will be, or are, spiritually journeying the entire time. Keep an eye on your dreams and remember that your imagination can do incredible things. In reverse, the Moon signifies a state of confusion brought about by being unable to integrate your newfound faith or spirituality. If you draw this card, you likely feel uncomfortable with the concept or action of imagination. You may be relying on substances for your spiritual growth too. There may have been signs pointing you in different directions, but you haven't followed them yet. To heal your current path, you'll need to proceed carefully. Look inside yourself for answers. 19. The Sun. The Sun card represents what the Sun typically symbolizes: joy, freedom, happiness, carefree energy, expansiveness, wonder, and success. Furthermore, this card suggests that you've begun to follow your path to enlightenment, and you're currently feeling the focus and clarity to fully achieve your dreams, as long as you stay on this path. Remain optimistic and be unafraid to share what you've learned with others. Knowledge is light, after all. In reverse, the Sun signifies that your inner light has dimmed. Perhaps you've refused to share your knowledge with others. Perhaps you're unable to see things clearly. Perhaps you're arrogant and assume you don't need to know more. Whatever your circumstances are, you doubt yourself or your path to some degree, and it's negatively affecting your psyche. However, this card could simply suggest that the success you crave is merely delayed. 20. Judgment. The card of Judgment is another card of rebirth. It insists that there will be a whole new set of paths to follow after you're settled in that energy of the Sun card. When one door closes, so many more open. Judgment also signifies that a time for decision-making is at hand. There are many changes ahead, and you'll be tested to see if you can carry your frequency of light. Make the decisions that best reflect your truth in order to succeed. In reverse, Judgment signifies that you've heard the call to act, to change, and to become reborn. But the trouble is that you've ignored it. You may not be ready to understand what's at hand, but you could also just be willfully ignorant. If you pulled this card, consider how you may be acting out of a fear of change. 21. The World. The World card is another in the tarot that symbolizes completion. Those who draw this card have gone through periods of great success that brought lasting satisfaction and pride. The World card is about celebration. It's about the dancing done when you've achieved all that you hoped for. It's about the festivities, the union of self and world that occur when one's in his or her prime. The world demonstrates that abundance, if not currently achieved, is nearer than you think. Keep your chin up and be patient. You won't have to wait much longer. In reverse, the world signifies a delay of success. There may be limitations in place, or you could feel like you're in a state of suspended animation. If you're feeling anything but validated and free, it's likely that your most important work is not completed quite yet. If this card is pulled, I recommend waiting out the situation, for movement and progress will absolutely return in time. 22, or 0, the Fool. The Fool both opens and closes the major arcana, and that's because it associates most strongly with innocence, openness, and new beginnings. The Fool represents both closure and conception. It's a card of balanced extremes and energy focused through playfulness. If you've drawn the Fool, it could be because you're acting like one, but it could also be because you need to take a less serious route in life in order to succeed. Remember to laugh at yourself. Take yourself less seriously and play a little more. Optimism comes to those who maintain good humor. In reverse, the Fool signifies that you're playing out the worst qualities of the card. You're childlike, playful, and extreme, yes, but you're also naive, irrational, and foolhardy. Don't be afraid of change. Don't let yourself be trapped by routine either. You may be naive and gullible now, but your awareness of these traits is pivotal knowledge to be able to change them in the future. Minor Arcana. The Minor Arcana, also called the Lesser Arcana, represents personality aspects and struggles or experiences that exist for all humanity in this world. The Minor Arcana is divided into 16 court or face cards and 40 pip or numbered cards from ace to 10. These 56 cards are all also divided into 4 suits or elemental types. Sometimes the suits are called different things, but I've noted where that terminology may differ for your convenience. Wands, aka clubs, batons, staves. Wands, clubs, batons, and staves all represent the same energy. This suit is all about passion, inspiration, initiation, impulsiveness, action, physical sensation, and strength building. Wands often signify what is generated in order to inspire others. Furthermore, they're associated with summertime. Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands is all about birth, new action, and expression of creative energy. Those who draw this card are unerringly gifted with a creative energy of some type, and they're likely to have the vigor to express that gift soon, if they haven't already. Sometimes this card also represents recent conception or the upcoming birth of a child. In reverse, this card signifies that there's a blockage in your energy, creative or otherwise. As long as you're aware of this blockage, it's soon to pass. Two of Wands. The Two of Wands symbolizes a tension that may be blocking the free flow of creativity. How do you feel about your work? Are you truly satisfied in your life? This card encourages you to examine what might be holding you back. Once you figure out what it is, you will have established a doorway that will change your circumstances once it is opened. In reverse, this card signifies a sudden release of tension which can translate into a creative work of genius. Three of Wands. The Three of Wands shows you how hard you've been working. You probably didn't need the confirmation, but your higher self wants you to know that he or she has noticed all the effort you've been putting in. Rewards are coming, and a whole new path may be revealed in a short time. Maintain confidence and direction, for your goals are within reach. In reverse, this card signifies that you may have been following a dream that's just not right for you, at least not right now. Think deeply about your goals and see if you can find the one that's misaligned from your truth. Another meaning of this card in reverse is that you've been focusing too much on the past in order to move into your own future. Four of Wands. The Four of Wands shows that the effort you've put into building a happy home has paid off. Things are feeling supportive, stabilized, comforting, and rewarding. You have a sense that you're settled enough with your life and your family to start the major project you've been putting off for so long. You're proud, joyful, and ready for what the world has in store. In reverse, this card signifies much of the same as the right side up version. The only difference is that you may have a temporary break from your work that's caused by a delay in action. If you experience this break, take full advantage of it. Rest up for what's to come. Five of Wands. The Five of Wands symbolizes playful conflict on the horizon. There's an interplay of activities and minds that's been surrounding you, but there may be an interruption to, or heightening of, that energy soon. Stand firm in your truth and open yourself up to the possibility for a sexual liaison, if you're into it, because it could be the right time with that special someone. In reverse, this card signifies conflict experienced internally. There could also be a degree of mistrust against oneself that's been holding you back. Turn to meditation to reestablish your trust in yourself and look to the surrounding cards in your spread to receive clues about the situation as a whole. Six of Wands. The Six of Wands represents recent victory achieved through focused and sustained effort. It demonstrates that you have the capacity to be a leader, once you're ready to embrace that role. Furthermore, the Six of Wands reveals your potential for fame. Any actions you undertake towards your goal will end up successful as long as this card is in play. In reverse, this card signifies how disastrous distrust can be. It can derail you from your path, it can shut off connections to others, and it can eliminate potential positions. If you've let distrust infect your heart and mind, it's time to work for resolution. On the other hand, if you see distrust creeping into your life right now, try to get to the root of the issue and eradicate it before it gets stuck in you for good. Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands reveals struggles on your horizon. There may be challenges to your authority that you don't appreciate, or it could just be that you're not feeling properly respected in your line of work. If you draw this card, proceed with caution and try to discern the biggest obstacles in your life through meditation. Once they're discovered, you can process these obstacles yourself without bringing the issue to others, and that would just make matters so much worse anyway. In reverse, this card signifies that you're feeling some emotional turmoil over your work situation. Maybe someone has criticized your work, and you're frustrated or embarrassed. Maybe someone has told you the boss is checking on your work and you're extra stressed. Regardless of the situation, try not to let other people's concerns weigh you down. Work to your highest capacity and remember to live your truth if you're ready to settle this imbalance. Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands card is all about speed, accuracy, and aim. This card signals that you're like an arrow shot expertly toward its target. You're swiftly approaching all you hoped for so strongly, and anything you attempt at this time is bound to be efficient, successful, serendipitous, and exciting. Don't get caught up in the vibe. Try to use this energy for actualization and action. In reverse, this card signifies that something is ending for you. Feelings of foreboding, concern, and frustration abound for you right now, and you fear losing things and people that mean the most to you. In order to succeed and not flounder, it may be difficult, but all it takes is an attitude check to shift things in the right direction. Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands symbolizes a moment of lull for you. You've just been through some nonsense, and the conflict is still playing out in your heart and mind. Because of this recent conflict and any lingering tensions, you may be feeling fearful or unsure of your future. You may be more antisocial or shy than ever, and it's unlikely that you're willing to take on big, life-altering action. However, this card encourages you to go for it. Let go of the pain and dive back into the experience. You never know what beautiful outcomes will arise. In reverse, this card signifies that you're intensely working away at an internal issue. Whatever you've noticed within yourself that you don't like, you've decided to eradicate it. However, the issue is a bit more ingrained in you than you initially thought. Have hope and be stubborn. Try a different approach to the situation. If that doesn't work, the surrounding cards in this reading may provide the clues you need for resolution. Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands focuses on feelings of overwork. You've put a lot of effort into your vocation or project of choice, and you're desperate to start seeing rewards. If you work for someone else, it could be that they're asking too much of you. If you are self-employed, it could be that you're tackling too much. Be careful not to burn yourself out, but know that if you do, another path to success will emerge to direct you in time. In reverse, this card signifies the potential for freedom. It could be that a new path is opening up for you, but it could also be that an old path is burning and crumbling before your eyes. Keep an eye open for the clues in your life that can direct you to this liberating path. Over time, you will achieve balance and just reward. Page of Wands. The Page of Wands insists that a young and energetic person may be about to enter your life. This person will provide needed inspiration to your life, and he or she may signify a new phase of your own life about to begin. Things are about to pick up for you. In reverse, this card signifies that someone who's overly confused or uncertain may enter your life instead. You may need to serve as an example for them so that you both aren't distracted to the point of stagnation. Remember to remain energetic and resolute despite this person's energy. Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands reminds you of the passion and eagerness that can accompany pure and fresh ideas. You might have been feeling listless or directionless lately, but that's all about to change. It could be a person that inspires you, or a philosophy, or a course of action. Whatever it is, it will provide challenges that help you grow exponentially. All you needed was a little bit of rebellious information to inspire you. In reverse, this card signifies that you lack the energy you need to either act or think appropriately. As much as possible, be sure not to lie, not to lose your temper, not to control people, and not to ignore your passions. It's time to live authentically and fruitfully. Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands suggests that a wise, generous, and creative feminine presence is about to enter your life. It can mean that you're about to channel this energy for yourself too. Don't shy away from femininity, charity, altruism, or compassion at this time. Be brave and express your willingness to help others. Volunteerism is a great practice at this time. In reverse, this card signifies that you, someone else, or your mentality are about to take away from the freedoms of others. Make sure that your goals don't detract from the lives of others when you pull this card. Double check your intentions too. It can't hurt to re-examine them once in a while regardless. King of Wands. The King of Wands symbolizes a person, opinion, or philosophy that's perfected through effort and hardened through passion. In your life, this card could represent troubling or stressful negotiations with others. Furthermore, it could signify a financial settlement that's about to be decided in your favor. Finally, the King of Wands suggests that it's time to take up the limelight in your own hard-earned successes. In reverse, this card signifies that the hopefulness, direction, eagerness, enthusiasm, passion, and intensity of the King of Wands has been focused toward either extreme positive or extreme negative expression. Don't let other people tear you down, but don't do that same thing to others either. This card teaches the value of love and sacrifice in protection and progress, respectively. Swords. Swords are all about intellect, mentalism, thoughtfulness, analytical thinking, concrete planning, and even deceitful scheming. Swords often signify what is sensed intuitively and then developed intellectually. They are also associated with springtime. Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords represents mental clarity as well as success on the horizon. It suggests that you've been given a gift of intellect, and it encourages you to use that gift to the advantage of all others. There are incredible opportunities available to you in your field as long as you show confidence in yourself and your craft. In reverse, this card signifies that you're experiencing imbalance or harshness on your journey related to over-reliance on judgment. Remember that others are a reflection of you, and that separation is an illusion in order to reestablish balance. Two of Swords. The Two of Swords predicts an opposition in your future. Whether it's between you and someone else, or between two other people, there's conflict and strife ahead. You may be asked to be the mediator if you're not too personally involved in the situation. If you draw this card, double-check yourself to be sure not to put off your responsibilities to others. In reverse, this card signifies internal conflict, tension, and self-deceit. Devote yourself to your truth in order to change the situation. Three of Swords. The Three of Swords isn't the most positive card to pull. It represents a time of great heartache. It could be that you've recently experienced a breakup, or you might just be in a phase of personal transformation. Regardless of the reason, your heart is torn apart by some sort of conflict. Let these emotions fill you, and don't avoid them. They will help you grow in ways you can never imagine, at least not right now. In reverse, this card signifies that an old wound may be reopened soon. It may already be raw and reopened right now. Allow yourself to forgive whoever wronged you, and don't let yourself get caught up in feelings of woundedness or victimhood. Take the high road. Four of Swords. The Four of Swords represents the importance of discernment. You may be about to face, or you're currently facing, an intense conflict, and you'll need to make sure you confront those who deserve it while retreating from others who don't. You'll need to make sure that you're aligned with your stable foundation of truth in order to stay above the struggles. Meditation may help you be able to keep the peace. In reverse, this card signifies that you're ready to come back into the world after a period of isolation. You've been hurt, but you're healing, so you emerge armed with positive energy for the future. Five of Swords. The Five of Swords warns you that you're coming up against hardship. There will be struggle ahead, and you may not turn out to be the victor. There may be threats to your dignity or failures and tests of loyalty. There may be a breakdown of communication between friends or lovers that proves toxic, and you'll have to remain open and willing to improve in order to find closure with this issue. In reverse, this card signifies feelings of despair that fill you. These feelings have surfaced due to a defeat you recently suffered. Allow yourself to be forgiven, and instead of wallowing, follow the path to renewal. Six of Swords. The Six of Swords shares important information about peace. It reveals that peace can come from the sharing of differences with others. Truth is not consistent. It is subjective, individual, and largely underappreciated, which is why it's so important for each of us to share our truths with others. This sharing increases the collective capacity for empathy, understanding, and growth. By drawing this card, you've shown that you're ready to move beyond separation from others to a place of intellectual solidarity that's achieved through appreciation of difference. In reverse, this card signifies the pain you sense in confrontation. Sometimes, confrontation is so painful that we put it off for months, if not years. Sometimes confrontation is so overwhelming that you get stuck and refuse to process the pain behind the circumstance. Pulling this card means that you must face the issue or resolve it within yourself in order to move forward. Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is a card to be very excited about. It suggests that magical knowledge is just past your fingertips. You may be about to embark on a voyage of great learning, or it could be that your spirit guides are about to take you to school to relearn your basics before growth can be achieved. Regardless, there's a definite air of excitement in your life, and new veins of knowledge shine out to you in the darkness. In reverse, this card signifies a number of things. It could be that you're about to help someone out, rework a previous conflict, receive previously stolen goods, use your words against someone, or experience intense trickery or deception. Regardless, things are about to get weird, and the essence of mystery stands firm throughout any upcoming struggles. Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords represents a tricky situation that you likely feel stuck in. Whether it's due to your circumstances or the needs of another person, you're restricted, tied down, and focused on thinking through fear. Try to remember that fear is just a mindset, and an unproductive one at that. Focus instead on using your mind to establish your own liberation, and you should be able to find the silver lining to the situation in no time. In reverse, this card signifies that a time of escape or entrapment is almost over for you. You see freedom on the horizon, and you're willing to do anything to achieve that freedom. Ignore gossip and drama that wants to stand in your way, and then you're sure to succeed. Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords represents that you may be deep in a period of darkness internally. Although things may look all right on the outside, on the inside, you're experiencing anguish, despair, and utter devastation. You could be experiencing the powerful and formative moment that may call the dark night of the soul. Remember that you're not as alone as you think you are, and keep your sights on your goals. Don't lose track of your truth in this state, for the outcome can be an identity crisis. In reverse, this card signifies one of two things. First, it could be that your truth is being used against your will in ways you're uncomfortable with. For example, as a scapegoat for blame, or as an avatar for someone's ethnic or religious hatred. Second, it could be that troubling situations are about to get much better. Either way, expect blunt realizations and potential for deep transformations. Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords represents the lowest point you can reach, but it also realizes that the lowest lows occur right before the brightest dawns. If you're feeling dejected, misdirected, undervalued, inferior, or betrayed right now, know that things will be okay in time. Things may end for you on the short term, but that will open up avenues for success in the long term. Remember that things tend to happen in threes and proceed with as little hatred as possible. In reverse, this card signifies that you've made a deep and lasting realization recently regarding your perceptions of life. You used to think things unfair or unbalanced or frustrating, but you've just accepted that you have the power to change your reality. Look inside and heal conflicts on that level to see what reverberates into more external realms. Page of Swords. The Page of Swords could represent you, or someone else, who's having trouble with communication. New lessons for this person are about to arise, but he or she will have to practice in order to establish fluency and eloquence. It could also be that incredible conversations are coming your way. Don't be afraid to start up a discussion with a stranger. In reverse, this card signifies that you, or someone near you, is being too detached in life. Get close to others and be unafraid of forming bonds. However, be careful not to become too controlling of others at this time. Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is all about revolutionary intelligence. You may be about to meet a person or encounter a theory or philosophy that's completely radical. It, or he, she, will challenge everything you thought you knew, and you'll emerge smarter and stronger. You may be about to embark on travel through the air. In reverse, this card signifies that you're approaching something in the wrong way. Whether it's a person, a thing, or a situation, you're just not coming at it quite right. Be selfless and reject urges for control, aggression, or abuse whenever they arise. Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords reveals the presence of someone feminine who's devoted to justice. This person may be about to enter your life, or it could be you who's about to step up to the plate. Furthermore, this card can simply signal a shift of attitude from subjectivity to objectivity for the sake of the greater good. In reverse, this card signifies a feminine energy that's devoted to justice, but who's suffered greatly at the hands of the system. Pulling this card can mean that to you, your philosophy on life, or someone else close to you, has become embittered to the point of detachment from social spheres. Bitterness is a disease that can be cured by connection with others, so fight this frustration with love. King of Swords. The King of Swords is all about legal, medical, scientific, or financial advancement. It could represent a person high up in any one of these fields, but it could also suggest that you hold this potential with yourself. When you pull this card, look to the areas in your own life that could use a better foundation. Especially be wary of unsteady backgrounds in terms of justice, self-sufficiency, honesty, and intellect. In reverse, this card signifies that even the purest goals can be twisted with impure intention. It reminds you to check your strategy so that you're not hurting anyone intentionally or not. Furthermore, this card encourages you to communicate your truth tactfully to others. Otherwise, you may come up against intense and long-lasting conflict over your word choice. Cups, aka chalices. Cups and chalices both represent the same energy. This suit is about emotionality, the sensual world, creativity and growth, and wateriness. Cups often signify what is felt deeply and encouraged toward others. Furthermore, they're associated with autumnal times of the year. Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups symbolizes the blossoming of romantic intention. Essentially, it reveals the potential for new emotional interest related to creation, inspiration, or romance. There are new relationships of all sorts on the horizon, or it could be that your relationship with something or someone is about to be kicked up a notch. In reverse, this card signifies that you're experiencing a lull in romance or creative inspiration. If you find yourself drawing this card, ask yourself what you may have recently rejected that would have actually served you well. Two of Cups. The Two of Cups demonstrates prosperous and amorous times ahead. Those seeking romance or healing will find their wishes fulfilled, and those seeking reconciliation with others will also find their hopes confirmed. The Two of Cups reveals how love can be a powerful force for healing in so many ways. In reverse, this card signifies pain induced from love gone awry. Your emotions are intense, and they can drag you down into your own depths. But rest easy knowing that satisfaction will come into your life again. Three of Cups. The Three of Cups symbolizes a lovely celebratory time filled with glee, love, and togetherness. This card represents shared joy over gifts that will benefit the community. You may have just made it through a troubling time, or it may be time to harvest the fruits of your hard work. Regardless of the cause, give yourself to the revelry. Treat yourself. You deserve it. In reverse, this card signifies the worst aspects of a life filled with partying, overindulgence, overspending, and superficiality. Make sure you...
I already knew they was going to do Pentacles last. They always do Earth last. But you know what? We last, but guess what? They say the best for last.
Satisfy your inner needs as well as your external ones in order to correct this imbalance. Four of Cups. The Four of Cups represents a period in which your emotions or your daily flow feel out of balance or interrupted. You may have overworked yourself recently, which could be causing this imbalance. It could also be that your best friendships and or your partnership feel off kilter, making everything else out of whack. If you're feeling stagnant or indifferent, try to bask in the comforts that surround you. Positivity is the trick to escaping this mood. In reverse, this card signifies that you're ready to move on from this period of stagnation and indifference. Your energy has been redirected, and after all you've been through, you're ready to once again take on the world. Five of Cups. The Five of Cups represents a complication added to your standard emotional satisfaction. You likely weren't expecting this complication, and you're unsure how to respond to it. Feelings of abandonment, surprise, fear, worthlessness, and loss arise, but you know that they're not the norm for you. You could be holding on to the past too harshly. Look to the present and future in order to heal this wound. In reverse, this card signifies that you suffered immensely, but you've reached the perfect time to move forward. It's a great time to resolve unfinished business with others or to reassess a conflict from the past. Keep an open heart and remember the value of mercy. Six of Cups. The Six of Cups symbolizes reunion or union, gatherings, and exchanges. This card reveals the importance of love across time and space, for you may be about to reunite with unknown family old friends, previous lovers, or embittered rivals from the past. It's time to rehash those old relationships and find out how they helped you grow, even if it didn't feel like growth at the time. In reverse, this card signifies trials involved with revisiting one's past. You may find that wounds you thought had healed are actually still quite raw. You might find that reunion experiences don't end up as productive as you'd hoped. If you draw this card, take things slowly and don't put yourself through too much emotional stress anytime soon. Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups suggests that you have a lot on your mind. Numerous goals and dreams are competing for focus in your head, and therefore, no path rings true, and no dreams feel 100% worth following. Be patient throughout this period of scattered energy, for focus will return in time. For the time being, entertain all these possible dreams and play them out in your head, rather than in real life, to see how realistic they actually are. In reverse, this card signifies that you've delayed your decision-making either too long or exactly the right amount of time. Therefore, this card could represent a missed opportunity, or it could suggest that you're right on schedule, using your willpower to achieve your goals with perfection. Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups suggests that it might be time for you to move on. You've dedicated a lot of your energy recently, or over the past few years, to a relationship that's become unproductive. Don't ignore that truth anymore. Things are now utterly and unavoidably unproductive. It's time to step away. It's time to move on, and that may seem harsh, but I promise that new growth will replace what you've lost. In reverse, this card signifies that you're going through a rough point in your current romantic relationship. You're considering the pros and cons, and you're thinking of what it would be like to be single or with someone else again. You may be thinking of this so often that you're exhausted of it by now. It's not likely that action will result from those thoughts at this time. Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups signifies that something you've worked very hard to attain is finally within grasp. It represents satisfaction, contentment, and deep and lasting happiness. The Nine of Cups also suggests that any conflicts that arise around at this time will be easily diffused. Finally, this card represents the potential for laziness and stagnation if you wallow in this success for too long without establishing a new path. As always, the ending of one thing must correlate to the beginning of another. Keep your efforts focused on that next step upswing. In reverse, this card signifies how something that used to stand in your way is now resolved. Whether it was yourself, something, or someone else, whatever was holding you back is just about conquered. Make sure you're not overindulging during this time, as it can hinder your ability to finalize this conquest. Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups symbolizes emotional fulfillment. Everything you hoped for yourself now feels within reach, and you're brimming with love for both yourself and others. This card is extremely hopeful, as it encourages you to reach for the stars. In success-filled moments, don't forget to keep dreaming. This card will remind you of what's possible when you think you've achieved all your wishes. In reverse, this card signifies that there may be struggles at home. Whether it's with your family or your intimate partner, things are decidedly rocky. It could be that someone's leaving home and you're having trouble adjusting. Keep an open heart and embrace the change that you face rather than fighting it. It may seem unfathomable, but you will adjust in time. Page of Cups. The Page of Cups demonstrates a new direction for creativity. You might be starting a new artistic venture, or you may be about to bring a baby into this world. New things are starting up everywhere, and you'll have to make sure your cup is brimming with love if you plan to take it all in. In reverse, this card signifies hardship associated with love or creative direction. You may have all the urge to succeed, but your emotions or actions could disagree. It could be that you're confused about what you actually need from your art, from yourself, from your job, and/or from others. Start meditating to find the answer or look to the surrounding cards for clues. Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups represents either a person or an attitude that's idealistic, hopeful, romantic, and dreamy. Be careful not to be too naive in your dreams and ideals, however, for some things are not as easy to manifest as you'd think. You might be about to use your healing abilities to help others, but you also might be about to engage in travel over water. This card has many meanings. In reverse, this card signifies that something or someone is hiding from you in plain sight. Be true to yourself and make sure you're not the one hiding. Bring your secrets out of the darkness and clean any skeletons out of your closet. It's time for some emotional spring cleaning if you're hoping for growth. Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups symbolizes a person in your life who is truly devoted to loving you. This person is likely not your partner. More often than not, it's a teacher, a parent, a guardian, or a therapist, regardless of gender, whose interactions with you are more nurturing than anything else. This person will be of increasing importance to you in the near future. This card can also suggest that your creative dreams are about to be actualized. In reverse, this card signifies one's struggles to feel comfortable in a new social setting. Things have changed recently, but you're not adjusting well. You're unsure, guarded, alienated, and uncomfortable. Try to channel happiness often and work on healing your deepest emotional wounds in order to correct this imbalance. King of Cups. The King of Cups demonstrates that a sensitive, spiritual, and emotional masculine person may be about to enter your life, but it can also suggest that a new spiritual or artistic path is about to be revealed to you instead. Look out for jobs, or people interested, in the fields of publishing, music, art, or theater. In reverse, this card signifies that your partner, or potential partner, is too distracted to be able to love you, or him or herself, fully. It could be that he or she is caught off guard by the relationship, but it's more likely that it's a substance abuse issue. This card is both a warning and an opportunity for transformation. Pentacles, aka coins, rings, discs. Pentacles, coins, rings, and discs all represent the same energy. This suit is all about materialism, home life, and earthiness. Pentacles often signify what is realized and then put into action. Furthermore, they're associated with wintry times of the year. Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles suggests that financial gain is on your horizon. There is a hint of something prosperous starting up for you soon. Furthermore, you may feel a sense of deep peace at this time with respect to your job, your relationships, and your home life. However, it could be that only one of these aspects of your life evokes this serene sensation. In reverse, this card signifies how you may be controlled by vice. Greed, lust, addiction, envy, and sloth are all most likely to be the vice in question. Let go of any unnecessary attachments in order to heal this issue. Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles symbolizes the need for trust in upcoming trying times. You may feel instinctually that you should proceed with caution, but that urge is not actually the best option for you right now. Open yourself to the universe and to the possibilities that others will offer. Find a balance between intellect and play, and remember to trust in the process. In reverse, this card signifies that what you're trying to balance or juggle isn't exactly working out. You risk losing money and resources if you follow the path you've been on. Proceed with caution. Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles shows you how you've actualized the fruits of your labor. All that you've been working on will soon be finalized, and you'll receive all the necessary compensation and praise shortly. So be patient. If you have the sense to improve the work you've done, follow that intuition. It will likely develop your project to an even more advanced and prosperous level. In reverse, this card signifies that laziness or fear has gotten in the way of your success. Your projects stand incomplete due to self-doubt or procrastination. If you feel something's or someone's been undermining you, Try to find the source of that issue so that you can realize the fruits of your labor and time. Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles signifies a foundation being built in material possessions or wealth. Your hard work is certainly paying off, and you may be well on your way to building an empire from that work. However, make sure you don't become too detached from people and emotions with all this focus on finances and work. In reverse, this card signifies that it's finally time to open up and release the emotional burdens you've been holding on to for so long. You may have been making a storehouse of unproductive emotions, and now is the perfect time to face that storehouse head on, so you can heal and actually move forward. Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles represents financial bereavements. Unexpected loss recently slapped you in the face, or it soon will. So you're feeling undermined, underwhelmed, disappointed, and disillusioned. Don't let this pain break you down completely, for material goods can be regained. Re-examine your life to see what other types of abundance you may have been overlooking in order to heal this wound. In reverse, this card signifies a turning point of sorts. It may not be financial, and it's more than likely relationship-based instead. This turning point has been signaled to you through your intense desire to recreate failed emotional intimacies with new people. Allow these new relationship foundations to be structured from the ruins of what others have left behind. Transform that negativity into something more productive. Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles symbolizes that you can't receive abundance in a vacuum. You have to put goodness and abundance out into the world in order to receive it for yourself. This card, therefore, encourages individuals to channel generosity with others as much as possible. The more selfless you can become, the more the universe will be able to recognize your goodness, and then it will provide for you in kind. In reverse, this card signifies struggles with money as well as debt to others. You may be working through selfishness, or you may be attempting more caution when it comes to money. Anything you can do to become selfless and generous will help you cure this imbalance. And once the imbalance is cured, the universe will send blessings your way too. Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles reveals that it's time to harvest the fruits of your relationships. Whether professional, personal, or romantic, your relationships will be especially abundant at this point, and you'll likely learn a good number of lessons in terms of relating to others at this time. Don't worry about interfering with things in your life in order to affirm any future growth, for it will happen to you without any effort on your part. You are aligned with success, and the only thing you can do to help is to clean out any emotional, physical, or spiritual clutter that remains. In reverse, this card signifies that your life, your work, and/or your relationships are not currently satisfying. They're not only dissatisfying, they're also energetically frustrating. If you feel things are unfair or unequal in these realms right now, don't let patience or exhaustion stand in the way of you expressing your truth. Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is a card focused on patience. This card recognizes that you currently have huge goals and that you've been putting in a lot of hard work. It sees your successes and hardships, and it wants you to succeed even further. But just know that this outcome will require even more hard work. Work like a turtle, slow and steady, until your end goals are settled firmly in sight. It could be that you're about to enter an internship or apprenticeship that realigns your direction entirely too. In reverse, this card signifies that you're hoping for success without any work to support these hopes. You've got grand dreams, but you're physically lazy. There's a disjunction and imbalance between theory and application, and you won't truly become established and prolific until you correct these imbalances. You might be in the wrong vocational field entirely, as a matter of fact. Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles represents all that success will establish in your life once you have it. You will experience an abundance of all sorts, and you will have new pleasures to experience with others you trust. Furthermore, this card suggests that you will only be able to establish that success once your environment matches your values. It could be that a change of location is in order, so that you can work in alignment with your ethics. In reverse, this card signifies that you are lost from the path you worked so hard to find. It could be that you haven't found your path at all, and the weight of that truth weighs on you. It could be, on the other hand, that you're unable to accept the responsibility necessary to succeed in this manner. Relocate your priorities and get back in touch with the discipline to balance out this issue. 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles focuses on what's called an attitude of gratitude, or a mindset of abundance. When you pull the 10 of Pentacles, your higher self is telling you to wake up and realize your blessings. There are likely far more than you've recently noticed. Feel the weight of these blessings in your life. Express gratitude often, and accept that your mindset attracts abundance.
Yep.
If you're working to attract abundance of this nature without success, don't fret. This card reminds you that outcomes are sometimes delayed in order to teach a message. For you, this time the message is likely, be patient. In reverse, this card signifies that the bonds of family are either troubling or unproductive to you at the current moment. It may help you to see a distinction between family and chosen family. Embrace your friends, your pets, and your close colleagues as kin, and allow yourself to detach from and release the pressures put on you by any troubling Earth family members. You owe them nothing, especially if they don't appreciate you. Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles insists that a new and profitable phase of your life is about to begin. Especially at this time, take note of any ideas that you encounter in your head. They are likely to be the intellectual seeds of your future business or other high-achieving projects. In reverse, this card signifies that you've been working too hard for something that's just an idea, at this point at least. Don't overextend yourself for a project that's far from completion. Work some, plan some, and relax some. That last step is crucial for your mental and physical health. Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles represents a practical and supportive person or approach that's about to impact your life intensely. Your goals for the immediate future likely involve getting back in touch with health through a new, or new to you, dietary or fitness practice. This card can also mean that a journey over land will be undertaken soon. In reverse, this card signifies a person or attitude that's overly focused on material abundance to the detriment of spiritual, emotional, and mental practices of betterment. Don't forget to focus on healing and affirming your whole self, rather than just parts of yourself. Furthermore, this card can represent inner turmoil being turned into positivity in a variety of ways. Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles represents a person or attitude that needs to devote more care to one's body, one's land, one's possessions, one's financial estate, and or one's relationships. The question asks the querent what he or she is doing to support the land we come from. Furthermore, this card can represent the need to treat yourself if times have been hard. In reverse, this card signifies an unfortunate internal state during which you may not recognize, trust, or support yourself, your instincts, and your dreams. Get back outside and in touch with nature if you're feeling this disassociation occurring. You can also recalibrate these feelings about yourself by getting back in touch with your animal self. Let go of what you're hoarding and donate material goods that don't serve you. Skim down on things to find yourself again. King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is all about seeking and achieving improvement to one's financial situation. You've been working long and hard, and those efforts are about to pay off if they haven't already. Your own potential for traditional success, artistically or professionally, lies right underneath your nose. In reverse, this card signifies the worst that high-achieving, earthy energy has to offer. Essentially, it suggests stubbornness, rigidity, disrespectfulness, condescension, vulgarity, jealousy, and general inadequacy, pridefully posing as success. Keep an eye out for this problematic energy in your life. Memorization tricks. This section devotes its focus to establishing and explaining 5 different tricks you can use to make memorizing all the meanings in the tarot a little easier. There are hidden patterns and meanings in the deck that you only need to know so that things will be immensely simpler. Check in with the tricks below to learn more. Trick number 1. The story in the major arc.
All right, family. That's it for tonight. This your girl, Empress Goddess. I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. I'll be back to finish up the book sometime tomorrow. And as always, y'all have a good night. As within, so without. As above, so below.